Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto homunculus and fullmetal alchemist. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Kitsune Foxfire and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Screaming. It was ringing in his ears, he could feel it in his bones, in his head. Where was it coming from? His body felt sluggish as he strove to stand, to locate the screaming and just get it to stop. He didn't remember what happened. Leerily he looked around. It was some kind of model building, he thought, or what was left of it. It looked wrong, even though it was wrecked, it still looked so wrong. And he didn't know why. The screaming just got louder as he climbed out of the building. It was seriously starting to piss him off. He snarled as his head swung around to look for the source of the annoyance, so he could crush it. Something felt off. There. It was coming from behind him. He just wanted it to stop, for them to shut up. The screams felt like ice picks in his ears. He stared down at the cause of the hated noise. It was a doll. But dolls can't scream. Shut up. He roared at the doll, glaring at it. His voice sounded all wrong, he knew something wasn't right. Why couldn't he remember? A flash of fire in front of his face and he startled, pulling away from the screaming doll. But when had he gotten so close? Shouting coming from the left. He turned to face it only to be slammed by something blunt in the side, sending him stumbling. A flash of memory. A feeling of pulling force, being pressed by all sides by earth as a man with orange hair looked on coldly. As his body was compressed he felt a sliver of fear war with the anger. The fear made him growl at the attackers, a new bunch of dolls that were yelling at him. The piffed. Piffed. Sounds they made with sticks were accompanied by a slight stinging sensation. It made him want to squish them. He stood again, towering over them as he licked his lips, salivating. One of the dolls sent a spurt of fire at him and he laughed as it ruffled his hair. It wasn't funny when a large rock smacked him in the nose. With a snarl he whipped one of his tails around to squash the annoyances once and for all. When did he ever have tails? The tail froze a scant foot above the dolls as he hesitated, desperately trying to remember. He looked back at the crumpled model house in confusion. Half of it was missing, the remains pushed up like matchsticks. A bowl-shaped crater, wreckage everywhere. Houses gone, the tower a pile of sticks by the great wall that was supposed to protect everyone. He backed away from the dolls as one went over to the doll that had been screaming, standing in front of it. Unable to move as he watched her fight for him, protecting him, he screamed at the orange-haired man to stop. Two of the dolls charged him, pressing their conceived advantage. The dark-haired one rushed to the front, riding on a wave of stone. He pawed the man out of the air, only to have the stone wave slam him in the gut. Seeing a blond man before him in a new light. He understood the choices, but still pissed at the man who made them he swung out a fist. He's dead. My father's dead. He shook his head trying to clear it of unwanted thoughts so he could crush these bugs. He stumbled and fell forward. He plummeted as he used the last of their energy to take out the man before him and everything else within a 5-mile radius. Maybe now everyone would be safe. The dark-haired doll stood right in front of him, the muscular one beside him and a smaller blonde one as well. He assumed they were threatening him, foolish things that they were. He was the great Uzumaki Naruto. I'm going to be Hokage one day. He hears the class laugh at him. Something was wrong. He felt a moment of disconnect before things snapped into focus. He ignored the dolls, no, people, in front of him and looked at his arm, covered in dense red fur. Turning his head he saw 9 waving snake-like tails whipping about in agitation. He looked back to the people in front of him. Seeing the remains of the building behind them. I did that. And felt sick with the thought. Ray he screamed as something inside broke. His body felt like it was melting and he kept screaming even as the tails receded and his skin healed over. He screamed as the blood washed out of his hair, leaving it blonde once more, screamed as his eyes returned to being blue. He was still screaming when the fireball hit him, bringing blessed darkness with it. The whole building shook violently for a moment. The man reached out to save his favorite mug from falling off the desk. Well, that was odd. I didn't think the East was prone to earthquakes. With a look at his female companion, he went back to work. Mustang. Havoc shouted as he skidded to a halt in front of the door. Quick. Something just attacked headquarters. The Brigadier General was on his feet instantly, heading for the door. What is it? I don't know, sir, but it's big, really big, and red. Havoc fell into step with his longtime friend and boss, flanking him on the left as Hawkeye kept pace on the right, gun loaded and ready. It appeared out of nowhere and crashed into the storage buildings. Currently, it's not moving. I doubt we'd be lucky enough that it died. Mustang used, you said it came out of nowhere. Yes sir. Saw it myself. A black hole opened up and this thing came barreling through. It didn't even slow down when it hit the building. Casualties? None so far. Most of that area is empty at this time of day. There were a few people injured and there are some trapped inside. When I left, evacuations were already underway. Good. The man pulled on his gloves as the intruder came into sight. Hawkeye, go help with the evacuations. If you see anything suspicious, shoot it. She snapped a salute and headed around the back of the building. Mustang warily looked at the large red cables in front of him. He had a feeling he wasn't going to like finding out what they were. As he continued to watch the still form, he spoke to the man who came up beside him. So much for a peaceful visit, Armstrong. Looks like I might need your help for this one. Think nothing of it, my friend. Armstrong flexed his sizable arms, limbering up. I could use a good workout. Havoc made a noise from next to Mustang as he adjusted the field binoculars he was using. What is it, Havoc? A person, sir. Looks like one of cleaning's staff. She's hurt and I think she's coming around. A loud piercing scream could be heard. Yeah. I think she just saw Big Red. You think? Mustang cursed as the big red thing slowly got up. Shit, I think she woke it up. What the hell is that? The large cables moved, lazily whipping into the air as the thing turned around. As Mustang got his team in position to distract the monstrosity, he realized that they were tails. The monster turned and glared down at the injured woman. Havoc, as soon as you can, get her out of here. Yes, sir. Shut up. The monster's shout only caused the woman to scream louder. Its head shot forward and Mustang rushed into action, snapping his fingers and sending a blaze of flame between the woman and her attacker. As the monster's large head swung about, Armstrong slammed it with a pillar of earth, sending it stumbling. Its tails lashed as it fell and they rushed it. The gunfire had no apparent effect as the monster bared its very sharp teeth at them and growled, causing the ground to rumble. It got to its feet and towered over them. Mustang realized that they had gotten too close as a drop of drool splattered on one of the soldier's head. He gave the man credit, he kept firing his gun, for all the good it was doing. With another snap of his fingers, he sent a well-aimed stream of flame at the beast's head. Damn it, it's laughing at me. Mustang growled. Armstrong. On it, sir. A boulder easily the size of a baby elephant was sent flying, slamming into the foul creature's nose. Take that. Mustang saw a blur of red come at them from above as the beast snarled, incoming. He shouted as the tail hurtled down on them. He knew it was too late as he prepared to send a wall of flame at the beast. The tail stopped close enough for his to reach out and touch it. The monster looked at the building it had destroyed, a strange whine coming from its cavernous mouth. As it stumbled back, Havoc used the momentary distraction to get to the woman, throwing himself in front of her as the creature's head whipped around to watch him. Mustang rushed towards the beast even as it retreated, Armstrong hot on his heels. Using a move they hadn't done since the Ishbulin War, Armstrong sent Mustang up towards the monster's face on a wave of rocks. The monster rolled its blood-red eyes as it brought up a paw to swipe him away. The flame alchemist was expecting this and rolled off the side of the wave as it continued and slammed into the belly of the beast. There was a crunching noise as the wall of earth raised the creature up on its back legs for a second before collapsing under the weight. The thing shook its head, as if confused as it stumbled. He's dead. My father's dead. It growled out. It took a shaky step forward before collapsing on the ground, nose a scant inches from Armstrong and Mustang. As the creature opened its eyes, Mustang heard Hawkeye coming up fast behind him. The beast growled, monster's tail swishing ominously behind it. He, Armstrong, and Hawkeye prepared to launch another attack. The growling stopped and the monster looked down at its arm, which Mustang realized was well situated to crush them. As he cursed his foolishness, the red creature looked back to its tails for a moment. Great, it's toying with us. He grumbled, even more pissed than he had been. His two companions grunted their agreement of his assessment as the creature's eyes found them again. Slowly its head swung back around until they were staring it right in the eyes. Its massive maw opened and Mustang could have sworn he heard Ed's voice laughing about how he got eaten by a big red dog thing. "Ray-I-I," the monster shrieked. Clutching his head in pain, at first Mustang thought he was imagining things. Armstrong, look. I see it, sir. This horrible creature is shrinking. The beast shrunk rapidly now, soon becoming man-sized. Its tail started to pull back into the body and the fur peeled off as the overall shape changed. The bleeding body continued to scream, clutching its head as pink skin formed and spread across its shuddering form. Blonde hair quickly replaced the last patch of blood-red fur. Red eyes turned blue as they stared at something behind Mustang. He idly realized the creature, boy, no homunculus, was staring at the building it had destroyed. It didn't stop him from snapping his fingers, incinerating the boy, silencing him. The body was still smoking as they approached it. Hawkeye nudged it with her foot, gun poised to shoot. The body moaned as patches of pink blossomed and spread, slowly covering it. She nudged it harder, rolling it onto its back. "Sir, do you want me to shoot it?" Roy looked at the blonde body which by any right should be a corpse. The clothing was ripped and burned badly. What was left was a bright shade of orange, not something he had come to associate with the homunculus he had fought before. As he watched the burns on the face fade, Mustang frowned. Envy and lust had repaired their cloths when they healed, this one did not. Is it weaker than the others? Sir? Riza prompted, eyeing the intruder suspiciously as it moaned again. The brigadier general sighed, what he wanted to do warring with what he knew he should do. No, don't shoot it unless it moves, Lieutenant. Armstrong, got any ideas on how to tie this thing up? I may have a few ideas, sir, if you mind telling me why. Alex leaned in, sir, this creature shows signs of being a homunculus. It is attacked, unprovoked, putting innocent lives at risk. Forgive me for questioning you, but should we not eliminate this threat? That is exactly why we are not going to kill it unless we have to. Roy ran his gloved hand through his hair. This thing came out of nowhere, Armstrong. We had no warning before it attacked. We don't know where it came from or how it got here. His dark eyes met his friends, worry evident in both sets. We need to find out this is a part of something bigger. He's dead. My father is dead. Riza said, not looking away from the body as it finished healing. What did it mean by that? The homunculus father died 3 years ago. Exactly, Lieutenant. That's one of the questions we need answered. And we just happen to have a fellow here that can answer those questions. He nodded to Armstrong, so if you can restrain it and get it ready to be moved, I'll think up a way to make a cell monster proof. Your alchemy had more of an effect anyway, so you'd have a better idea of how to stop its movements. I see, brilliant plan, Roy. I assume we are going to keep this quiet from the fur until we know more. Of course. Well then, let us set about, Armstrong began, flexing his hands as he worked out the formula he'd need to restrain something that could turn into a giant monster. As he was bringing his fist down towards the ground, Riza cried out, firing a shot. The homunculi glared at Hawkeye, hand firmly holding the barrel of her gun up and away from its body. With a tug it disarmed her and leapt back, avoiding Mustang's flames. Mustang smirked as his men, who had been standing back, offering support if it was needed, clicked off their safeties. The blonde head snapped around at the sound, blue eyes widening in surprise. Naruto looked down at his hand which still held the weapon he had gotten from the blonde woman. When he had grabbed at it, he had felt a burning sting, and looking at his palm he had a long bleeding gash, though there were no sharp edges. Projectiles, he mused, remembering the sting he had felt in the body of the fox. He had woken up to the sound of the man with the dark hair and pissed eyes, suggesting capturing him. He wasn't sure what alchemy was or what the hell a fur was, but he knew he didn't want to stick around to find. He had sensed that they were about to make their move, he had jumped into action. Naruto wasn't sure why, but he still felt a little hazy, his body felt stiff and slower than usual as he rushed the woman. Now he was regretting not just fleeing and taking his chances at an attack. Well, what are you going to do now? Naruto glared at the dark-haired man. He reminded him vaguely of Sasuke. He decided it was the smug look in his eyes. Yo, you think you can take all of us? The man taunted. Actually, yeah, I think I can. He reached inside for his chakra, only to find it frighteningly empty. Frowning, the blonde tried again, only to feel the poisonous chakra of the Kyuubi. His eyes flashed red as his head ached. As he warred with a sudden surge of dark power, he saw the blonde woman re-arm herself. Forcefully he pushed the power down. No, you can't come out. He glared at the man, still silent, feeling the weight of the foreign weapon in his hand. Flashback. If you can, avoid capture at all costs, Ibiki explained to a young Naruto. He'd personally caught the young prankster sneaking up to the monuments with a pail of paint and had decided to teach the 5-year-old wannabe a lesson. Turning his back on the trusted up boy, B continued, a ninja's job is to complete his mission at all costs. He does this using stealth. If he's caught, his mission fails. Ibiki turned back to the boy, giving him a hard glare before continuing, if capture is unavoidable, a ninja should prevent any information or supplies from falling into enemy hands. But, you took all my stuff already. The boy whined, Mimi. The blonde had managed to work a hand free. What the heck do you expect me to do now? Ibiki watched the boy struggle for a moment, impressed at his progress. If you were a ninja on a real mission, he began, debating if he should soften his words. I would expect you to protect your village by taking your own life, if necessary. How? The boy asked, not intimidated at all as his struggle freed his other hand. Use the enemy's own weapons. If that's not an option, force them to kill you. Ibiki pulled of his forehead protector, revealing the scars on his head to the young boy. Remember, in the world of a shinobi, a fate worse than death usually awaits a captured ninja. Hey. Mister, what happened to your head? Ibiki felt the beginnings of a headache coming on as the boy rattled off questions while still upside down. Then flashback. Naruto eyed the men around him carefully, Ibiki's words ringing in his head. He had no clue how to use the weapon in his hand. It was all he had, his kunai spent in the battle to protect his home, but they sure did. The problem was, if the dark-haired one could be believed, they weren't going to kill him. He could press the issue, but could he get them to kill him? The smirk was gone now, replaced with an angry scowl. Hawkeye. Yes sir. The woman took careful aim, and Naruto couldn't help the involuntary cry of pain as the bullet tore through his shoulder. He could feel the flesh pull back together almost instantly. It was a painful lesson, but the message was clear. They were going to be aiming to maim, and it would take a long time for him to die. The ninja glared at the three in front of him, not that they let me die. He tossed the strange weapon on the ground out of reach and raised his hands in the universal sign, I surrender. Roy was surprised when the homunculus tossed down the gun. When he had seen its eyes turn red for a second there, he had been sure it was going to attack. Part of him expected a trick of some sort. Homunculi were not known for their wise choices in self-preservation, after all. Smart choice. The monster snarled, crossing his arms across his chest. Screw you, bastard. Sharp words for someone who just surrendered without a fight. Roy quipped, signaling his fellow alchemist to begin. Earth rose up in ribbons, wrapping around the blonde from the neck down. No biting, now. Mustang admonished as Armstrong deftly lifted up the stone-encased form. Wouldn't dream of it. Though the tone suggested he had. Here we go. General, where to? I know where I want you to go. They chose to ignore the remark as the flame alchemist led the way towards the central building. There were some decent cells in the lower level, and thanks to his little trip to the gate, he knew how to make it more than adequate for his purposes. Once again, he was glad that he had not lost all that knowledge with the return of his eyesight. Reaching the cell, Roy looked critically at the folding cot and table. Those will have to go. I'm not sure I trust this thing enough to untie it. Don't want to give it anything it can use as a weapon. Havoc, move anything not bolted down into another room. Havoc snapped a salute and got to work with the help of a few other men. If I need a table or chair I can always just make one. After all, Alex, you can put our guest down now. Yes sir. Should I release him as well? Mustang looked at the blonde homunculi, a smirk upon his lips. No, I think we should let him get used to his new surroundings. He slapped his hands together and slammed them into the wall. Blue sparks danced around the room as all the surfaces went from a dull gray a darker, slightly reflective one. That should do it. We'll just let you get comfortable, my friend. I'll be back later. Wait. You can't leave me like this. My nose itches. Ghhhh. The homunculus shouted at their receding forms. As the door clicked closed and blue discharge raced across it, he growled, and you're not my friend. Roy chuckled darkly from the other side of the door before striding to his office. I want all the data we can get on this thing. Photos, eyewitness reports, hell, I'll even take gossip. Just get it for me on my desk in an hour. Hawkeye frowned. They were still calming down those who had been in the building, not to mention she had no clue how many people had actually seen the beast. Sir. Fine. Get me as much as you can in an hour, he modified. I want the rest by the end of the day tomorrow. Yes sir. Hawkeye snapped a salute before turning smartly on her heels to get the required information as the Brigadier General reached his office. What exactly are you planning, Roy? Armstrong closed the door behind them before settling into one of the plush chairs. Me? I'm not planning anything. Mustang quickly penned a letter to a certain Ishbulin. He was hoping he wouldn't need the help, but the man's unique talents could come in handy. Unfortunately, it would take a while for him to come. Meaning his meeting with his little uninvited guest would be one-on-one today. You hear me? Not my friend. Naruto shouted at the top of his lungs. He listened closely, hearing nothing coming from the hall. With a self-satisfied smirk, he relaxed his arms and got to work. Exhaling as much as he could, he worked on slithering his right arm up towards his neck, dislocating it in the process. He steadily streamed a small amount of chakra from his right hand, weakening his earthen restraints. It wasn't long before his hand was in front of his face. Gotta remember to thank Gaara for teaching me this little trick, he panted, gathering his strength. With a calculated shove, he broke large chunks of the restraint away from his chest and immediately focused on the next important task. Scratching his nose. It took only moments and the careful manipulation of his remaining chakra to break free. It left him frighteningly weak though. As the blonde sat on the floor catching his breath, he once again had to wonder how the hell he got here, wherever he was. Let's see, I was fighting that bastard pain, right? He attacked. Panic welled in his throat as he thought of the devastation to Konoha, his friends. No, they'll be fine. I'm sure of it. Yeah. Just fine. I got pain away, didn't I? He vaguely remembered talking with the fourth Hokage, learning that the man he had idolized his whole life was in fact his father. Huh. Everything after that's kinda blank though. What the hell happened? Well then, if I woke up as a giant fox, then I bet I know who has some answers. The sewer was much the same it had always been. Poorly lit and wet. Without much preamble, Naruto banged on the bars of the cage. Ah, I see my jailer has come to pay a visit. The fox grinned, what seems to be the problem? You know exactly what the problem is. What the hell is going on here? I don't know what problem you could be talking about. Oh wait, could you be referring to your rather foolish attempt to stop that man without my help? To Naruto's confused look the Kyuubi just laughed, you don't remember, do you? Delicious. Just tell me already. It's simple, really, you tried to finish off that man with your sorry skills. You failed. The monster grinned and now you're paying the price for it. What aren't you telling me? It was weird, even here, the blonde felt completely drained. The last time he felt this way speaking to the Bijuu, the fox had taken over and almost killed Sasuke. Wouldn't you like to know? Feeling a little weaker than normal, boy. Kyuubi's eyes slanted and he gave a mental shove, get us out of this mess, your foolishness got us into, Naruto, or I will, the fox grinned as Naruto faded, and trust me, you won't like how I do it. But the sigh Naruto opened his eyes. It didn't take a genius to figure out that Kyuubi knew a lot more than he was letting on. The thought that pain was still a threat to his village no, he was after me. If I'm not there, they'll be safe from him at least. The ninja had more pressing things to worry about than his home, though. He pulled himself to his feet and started the arduous task of feeling along the walls for a weak spot. Naturally, he started with where the door had been, only to find it as smooth as the surrounding walls. Maybe letting myself get caught and thrown into a locked room wasn't my best idea. He deftly searched the whole room to no avail. He had thought, foolishly, that these new enemies would throw him somewhere he'd easily be able to escape. Naruto did have a lot of experience getting out of locked ninja-proof rooms, thanks to some differing opinions on what constituted as resting. Eventually the blonde found himself back at where a door was supposed to be. Experimentally, he shoved on it. Bam! Suddenly blue electricity crackled across the wall and across his hand. Oddly enough, it didn't hurt, though the teen wearily took a step back. Could be some kind of exploding tag. The section of wall vanished, leaving Naruto to blink dumbly at the man with cold calculating eyes. Crap, the blonde quickly dove, aiming for the space between the man and the wall, attempting to get out of the room. He heard a snap and suddenly he was on fire. Blinded, he continued his mad lunge for freedom. When he felt someone grab his hair and yank him back, he whipped around and threw a punch that defiantly connected before he skidded across the floor. Who the hell do you think you are? Fucking Sasuke. That hurt. Roy mentally cursed as he rubbed his jaw. The little beast had a heck of a right hook even when it couldn't see where it was aiming. He felt a bit like a fool, thinking that Armstrong's alchemy would be strong enough to hold onto a homunculus of unknown abilities for long. Again, it had only been an hour. He looked over at the pile of gravel, frowning, definitely thought it would have taken longer than that at least. Little bastard could have gotten away if I had waited any longer. He was ridiculously grateful that Rizza was not here to see his mess up. I see you don't waste any time, homunculus. Mustang calmly entered the room, watching as it writhed in apparent pain. He shut the entrance to the room, locking himself in a calculated risk. The monster ignored him, instead coughing out, who the hell do you think you are? Fucking Sasuke. That hurt. Blue eyes glared at him, still watery from the pain. Who or what is Sasuke, I wonder? The alchemist quickly formed a table and 2 chairs with a simple hand slap. I'd like to see you try to use one of these against me, he thought, looking critically at where the furniture rose out of the floor seamlessly. He dropped the folder he had been carrying on the table. Have a seat. The blonde eyed the new additions to his cell suspiciously as he stood slowly. He poked at the chair, big deal, I've seen better, he muttered before taking a seat. Well. He glared. Roy took the other seat, not much of a power play. What is this guy, an idiot? He flipped open the folder, revealing a photo of the homunculus from earlier that day. He watched as the fake boy looked at the photo. He said nothing as he studied the bright blonde hair and startling blue eyes. The headband was a little odd, with its metal plate and odd symbol. Idly he wondered what it meant. The homunculus looked at him, and Mustang realized that the marks on its face, which he had taken for healing cuts, or maybe dirt, were neither. Huh, they look like whiskers almost. What am I supposed to be looking at? It asked, pointing at the picture. Why don't you tell me? How the hell should I know? Are you saying it isn't you? The blonde flinched ever so slightly, that's what I thought. I don't know what you're talking about. You're a terrible liar, you know that. Besides which I saw you change. The man who had finished off 2 homunculus sighed exasperatedly, fine, let's try something else. Who are you? Or at least, who are you supposed to be? Blue eyes just watched him suspiciously. Am I supposed to guess then? Well, given his abilities to transform envy. No reaction. You're too active to be sloth and you're not fat enough to be gluttony lust. No, I don't think a pathetic runt like you could be lust. He noticed a flash of anger in the eyes, greed or pride, maybe. The prisoner looked away, grinding its teeth. You know I have no clue what you're talking about, don't you? He growled, eyes flashing red for a second. Roy smirked, I've got it. Wrath. Wrath. I like that. Shut up and go away. Naruto hissed back. I think it's an excellent name though, don't you agree? The man across from him continued to smirk, unaware of the second voice Naruto heard. Did I hit a nerve? I'm not Wrath. The shinobi growled out. I'm not like that. Yes you are. You hate so well, though you fight it. Oh really, now? Then who are you? I can't tell him my name. Can't give them anything. Just need to get out of here. What would Iro-sensei do? Naruto blinked rapidly to get the disturbing image out of his mind. Okay, Iruka. The idea occurred to him that Iruka would never be mistaken for someone with a name like Wrath unless you really knew him, and two, no one ever caught him talking out loud to himself, so he would have just gone with it. No, wait, Kakashi. I'd give you my name, but then you'd just get it dirty. Roy just stared. It took him a few seconds to process what was said. Did he just say what I think he did? Now, Mustang was a real hit with the ladies, but that wasn't to say he hadn't heard that particular turn-downer from Havoc stories. Sure, we'll go with that. What kind of idiot is this guy? Well, I guess I'll just call you stupid. The homunculus looked highly offended. His mouth opened and closed a few times, but nothing came out before he shrugged. Fine, whatever. He muttered, looking away. The two just sat there in silence for a while. Assuming his powers are similar to envy, it's possible that this is his default form. I don't understand why Wrath would have that power though. Did his creator make him with multiple abilities? Is that even possible? Mustang sighed. This speculation was getting him nowhere. Who sent you? Stupid just shrugged. Why do you want to know? He felt a headache coming on. Why did they send you here? Blue Eyes looked at him mischievously. I don't know, why do you think? It was official, the homunculi was going to be difficult. Roy said nothing as the blonde pulled the file closer and flipped through it. Know what I think? You've got nothing. Well, you know what I think. Roy leaned in, a dangerous glint in his eyes. I think that you believe you have a choice about answering my questions. He pulled the file away and cautiously stuck it under his arm before steepling his fingers. Sorry, kid, but you're going to answer my questions. You can either answer them now while I'm still in a good mood. He put his hands on the table, dissolving it and the chair the blonde had been sitting on. The homunculi landed in an undignified heap on the ground, a yelp escaping his lips before he glared up at the man still seated. Or you can answer them later. When you're in a bad mood. Stupid stood, glaring at the brigadier general in a way that promised violence, though the boy made no move. Why hasn't he attacked me yet? For a homunculus, he's being almost civil. What exactly is he planning? I was going to say when I make you, actually. The blonde snorted, yeah, right. If you tried to make me, we'd both be in a bad mood. He crossed his arms. I'm not gonna tell you anything, you asshole. You don't scare me. There was a knock on the wall before the doorway opened once more. Armstrong stood in the doorway, flanked by Fury and Hawkeye, both of whom had their weapons quickly trained on the homunculi, who just calmly raised a hand in greeting. Yo. Armstrong watched the room until his eyes that settled on what was left of his alchemy in the corner. He frowned. Time's up, sir. Mustang rose, dissolving the chair before heading towards the door. I was not expecting you to release him, Mustang. Oh that? The blonde pointed to the rubble behind him. It didn't fit too well. Sir? Stupid over there broke out of it before I got here. Think you could fix that for me, Major? The man who was known for his strength in alchemy just glared. He punched a fist into the door and Stupid was encased once more in rock. This time, however, he was sitting with his hands on his knees. How's that, sir? Mustang looked back. That'll do nicely, I think. I'd like to see you get out of that one. He was surprised that there was no outburst this time as they left the room. And sealed it shut behind them. Alright then, show's over. Back to work, all of you. Fury followed Mustang on the long walk back to his office with Hawkeye. Sir, you've received a reply from the town. Already? Yes, turns out he's actually in town right now. He said he'd be here by tomorrow morning, afternoon at the latest. Good. Hawkeye, have the rest of the information you've collected in my desk first thing tomorrow. No point in letting him go in blind. Mustang frowned. I really don't know what to make of this one. I hope our friend has a little more luck getting information out of him. So I take it he was uncooperative, General. Riza, Edward is uncooperative. This idiot. He ground his teeth. I couldn't even get a name from him. I don't know if he's just stupid or really that cocky. He's trouble, that's all I'm sure of. Goofed. Naruto sighed from his spot behind the rubble. It had been a simple thing to use substitution and swap out some of the debris from his earlier restraints, but it left him feeling very drained. He rose to his feet, feeling dizzy and lightheaded. Can't just sit around here. Need to get out of this room, he muttered to himself as he stood. He made it a few steps before the world spun around him and went dark, leaving him crumpled on the floor. Naruto woke hours later, feeling feverish and weak. His internal clock told him it was sometime after midnight. No sounds were coming from outside the cell, making it the perfect time to escape, but he couldn't even get the energy to stand. What the hell is going on here? I feel like I'm going to pass out if I even move. Flashback. Naruto had finished his training early and was a little bored. His attempts to get Sai out of the library met with failure, so he decided to go see if Sakura would be willing to go get something to eat with him. Not as a date, but as friends. He'd heard she'd been helping out at the hospital recently. Something about an accident involving a group of people needing emergency care. He wasn't sure of the details, but he was sure she could use a break at this point. What he was when he got there worried him greatly. Sakura was sitting on a chair, head between her knees, breathing heavily. "Yo, Sakura-chan, what's wrong?" When she looked up at him, her face was pale and drawn. "Nothing's wrong, Naruto. I'll be fine. Just need to sit and rest for a second." "You don't look fine." He worriedly looked around for someone to help, spotting Tsuan approaching fast. "Of course she doesn't, you dolt. She's pushed herself too far." Tsunade sounded pissed, but she was gentle as she checked her apprentice's pulse. "Ah-chan, what's wrong with her?" Startled by the panic in his voice, Tsunade looked up. She saw fear and worry etched in every line of his body and relented. "It's nothing to worry about, she's just suffering from chakra exhaustion. She should have stopped before it got so bad, but she's in no danger at this level." "Chakra exhaustion? So she's gonna be okay?" "Yes, Naruto, she'll be alright as long as she sits and rests for a bit, but if she had kept working, she could have passed out, or even died." She turned her attention back to the pink-haired teen. "I want you to promise you'll never do something that stupid again." "Yes, Hokage-sama." "Naruto, I order you to make sure Sakura eats something." She stood. "I have more patients to attend to right now, but we'll discuss this later, Sakura." Then flashback. But the sinking feeling that he was suffering from chakra exhaustion, the shinobi reached inside. He felt a flicker of his normal chakra right before the Kyuubi's chakra smashed into him, leaving his breathless for a moment as he fought it off. "This sucks." Weighing his options, the blonde decided to wait it out and rest while he could. After all, chakra replenished itself, and he was known for having insane amounts. He crawled over to the statue the bald sparkly guy had made, cursing the fox the whole time. Taking off what was left of his jacket, Naruto propped the makeshift pillow against the rock and was quickly asleep. Roy. It had to be the longest, hardest morning Roy had dealt with since Edward left the military. With bleary eyes, he downed his third mug of coffee, glaring at the stack of folders in front of him. Folders that he had been hoping would be thicker. A lot thicker. In truth, he knew that the information Riza had gathered was quite extensive, considering she'd had less than 24 hours to find out everything she could about this mysterious homunculus and document it. Unfortunately, none of the information before him told him anything particularly useful. It looked like he'd have to go to the source. The problem was, the source was yet another pain in the ass blonde. "I wonder if that was deliberate." There was a knock on the door. "Come in." He poured another cup of coffee for himself and raised an empty mug to his visitor. "Yes, thanks. Glad you could make it so quickly. We've got a bit of a situation here." The visitor took the offered mug and settled in a chair, taking a long sip before replying. "I noticed some construction going on by the West Wing. Your situation got anything to do with that?" "You could say that." Roy paused, trying to think of the best way to present his Ishbulan comrade with the information. He knew it wasn't something the man was going to take particularly well. With a sigh, he shoved the stack of folders over to the other man. He was silent as he watched the other page through the reports and eyewitness accounts. "A new chimera?" Red eyes furrowed in annoyance. "Don't you alchemists ever learn?" Mustang split the last of the coffee between their mugs, stalling as the other continued to read. "Where did it come from?" The man looked at the brigadier general. "Wait. You wouldn't call me here just because of some rouge chimera. What aren't you telling me, flame alchemist?" "Still sharp as ever, I see. There's no point in dragging this out. It's not a chimera. For a while we thought, but no, it's defiantly not a chimera." The other man ran a hand down one of the numerous scars on his body, eyes cold and calculating. "Who made it?" "That's what I'd like to know." "I see. I take it you've captured the creature." At the incredulous look he received he went on, "So, how can I help?" "By getting me some goddamn answers, for starters." Time skip. Roy was trying very hard not to think about how much paperwork his plan was going to incur if it worked, let alone if it failed. Bringing in a civilian was a risky move, particular considering how this could be a danger to the state. The higher-ups might suggest he was trying to start a panic. At least, those who were not aware of this particular civilian's qualifications. He looked at his silent companion as they made the long walk to the holding cell. The plan was simple: get into the room, prevent the monster's escape, and force the information out of him by whatever means necessary. You do realize if the others are any indication, this is going to be far from simple, right? That's just the way I like it. We need to show these homunculi that we will do whatever it takes to protect that which is precious to us. Armstrong was waiting for them in the hall. Mustang, I shall wait outside to offer support if you should need it. I do not like the idea of letting you two in there alone with that monster. I was just going to ask you to Alex. To be honest, I didn't like how quickly it got out of the bonds last time. Hawkeye, Havoc, Fury, get ready, I'm opening the door. Once we enter, I want you to guard the room with Major Armstrong. I'll let you know when we're coming out. He slapped his hands against the sealed door, opening it once more. The sight that greeted them was defiantly not what the group had expected. Roy had been prepared for the homunculus still being restrained, however unlikely it was. He'd defiantly been prepared for the creature to rush him, be it in its human form or its monster shape, he still wasn't sure what the hell it was supposed to be. Mustang was even prepared for the monster to be gone. The homunculus was free, which was to be expected. It wasn't rushing them, which wasn't expected. It was apparently napping. The restraint of earth that Armstrong had created was completely intact, leaving no clues as to how the blonde escaped. So, is that the homunculus? The Ishbalin asked, pushing past his associates, eyes firmly on the blonde who just yawned. It doesn't look like a monster to me. Are you sure? Positive. I saw it transform with my own eyes. With a frown, Mustang waved the others away and closed up the doorway again. Of Naruto. Naruto had considered moving when he heard people approach from down the hall. He'd awoken some time ago, and still his chakra levels were pathetic, which meant that his brilliant plan of getting captured and then later escaping fell as flat as one of Sai's jokes. His options were defiantly limited unless he could talk them into just letting him go. Yeah, that'll happen. Gee, Mr. Snappy Fire, can you please let me go? PSHHHH. Bang. Toasted Shinab on his stick. So. Give them what they want is out, since I've got no clue what the hell he's asking. Besides, it could be a trick, these guys would definitely be a threat to the village if they found it. Naruto grinned, rolling into a more comfortable position as the footsteps drew closer, guess I'll just wing it. With the crackle of blue electricity, the door appeared once again. Naruto continued to lay there, arms propped on his jacket-turned pillow, eyes closed. He ignored the idiots at the door as the group split and he was once again locked into the room, this time with two others. The moment dragged on as the two additions to the room just stared at him. He could feel the hostility coming off them and he knew that one was his friend Mr. Snappy Fire. I need to come up with a better name for him. Toaster Man, the other he wasn't sure of. What are you doing? Napping, what does it look like? Still he didn't bother to move. You guys could have given me a pillow or a bed or something, you know. It's so boring in here. So sorry you don't like your accommodations. The man sighed, this is the homunculus, I've been calling him stupid since he won't give me his name. I know he doesn't look like much, but be careful. He's fast and we don't really know what he's capable of. Which one is he? You know I can hear you right? I'm not sure, but I suspect Wrath. Seriously, I can hear you. Stop talking about me like I'm not here. Naruto sat up, glaring at the two as he put on the remains of his jacket. Stupid jerks, did you interrupt my nap just to piss me off? Dusting himself off, he leaned against the statue, radiating annoyance. He got his first good look at the new person. He was big and well-muscled with shocking white hair that stood out all the more with his darker complexion. Who's the buff geezer? Buff geezer? Are you trying to piss me off? The new guy asked, stomping up to within an arm's reach of Naruto. It was then the blonde noticed the man's face. First thing he noticed was the bright blood-red eyes, which he immediately looked away from. Sharingan. He then noticed the cross-shaped scar on the man's face and was a little surprised he didn't notice sooner. Geez. Sorry, Scarface. Didn't know you were so sensitive about your age. But with hair like that. The man growled, I'm Ishbalin. I see. Naruto slapped a fist into his palm, and Ishbalin is someone who's young but looks really old. Yosh. I see why you call him stupid. The strange new man grabbed Naruto's coat, ignoring the yelp of protest. Mustang asked me to come and speak with you. Well, I don't want to speak with you. Things were defiantly going from bad to really bad in Naruto's mind. He had a sinking feeling about where this was going and he didn't want to go there with it. The man gave Naruto a good shake, too bad. I'm here to get answers from you, the man smirked for some reason, you may call me Scar. Do you know why I asked Scar to come and help? The darker-haired man, Mustang, asked as he came up next to Scar. I asked him because he has certain skills to ensure your cooperation. I really seriously do not like where this is going. We're going to ask you some questions and you're going to answer them. If you don't, Scar is going to give you some encouragement. Do you understand? He swung a fist at the Mustang's face, I'm not telling you anything. Scar caught the fist easily, tell me, why won't you look at me? Because I think you're butt ugly. Now let go, asshole. Wrong answer. Blue lightning danced around Naruto's fist, followed by pain. It felt like his whole arm was on fire. Suddenly he felt the Kyuubi's chakra rush forward. His arm felt momentary better before it exploded in pain once again. Blood splashed to the floor as he kicked off his captor with all his might, propelling himself across the room where he landed unsteadily. His eyes widened as he looked down at the mess that was formerly a fist. It was quickly healing, faster than he was used to seeing, the Kyuubi's chakra raced through his system. Kill them. Kill them now, brat. No. Even if I kill them, I won't make it out of this room alive, you stupid fox. He watched as bones formed out of nothing, muscles racing up the framework and skin slowly regrowing. That is seriously creepy. I am so glad I'm usually out cold when I heal from something this bad. I think I might be sick. He glared daggers at the man who had pulped his fist. That fucking hurt, you know. Good. Every time you don't answer or answer with a lie, I'm going to make you hurt. I'll die before I tell you anything. Then I'll just wait till you regenerate and start again. Seriously. How the hell do they think I'm going to come back from dead? Okay, there was that one time and then that other time. Gah. They can't possibly know that, they've got to be bluffing. Mustang smirked darkly. So, are you going to answer our questions the easy way? Naruto started to laugh. Answer your questions. Not on your life. Kill me if you want, you'll still get nothing. If I come back, it'll just be to laugh at you. Mustang Pav. Damn it. He just calling our bluff. It was true they could kill the homunculus again and again, doing as much damage as they needed to get their answers. It was also true that they didn't know how many times this homunculus could revive or how big of a philosopher's stone it had. In short, it was completely possible they'd kill it in interrogation and it would actually die without telling them anything. It truly depended on how stubborn this thing really was. Maybe we can't kill him, but we can sure hurt him. He's got to know that. You're really not afraid at all, are you? Who'd be afraid of you? I've met worse. The blonde crossed his arms over his chest. I ain't telling you shit. Scar rushed forward in an attempt to attack. Stupid nimbly dodged his blows, almost without effort. What I want to know, Scar began, still pressing his attack, is how that giant rabbit dog turned into you. Mustang was a little surprised when Scar's fist actually connected, sending the creature flying into a wall. Quickly he formed restraints to hold him there. Rabbit dog. Seriously? Ow ow ow. The blue eyes flickered red for a moment. I mean it's a fox, damn it. A nine-tailed fox. There, you happy now? His last comment didn't seem to be directed to either of them, however, Roy noticed Scar smirk. He'd gotten an answer, and it sounded honest. Just to be sure, a fox. Seriously? Roy pulled out the picture and looked at it, miming a frown. Truth was, after being told that, it did start to look a bit foxish to him. You're joking. This is obviously some kind of rabbit dog. Or maybe a cat, its eyes are slitted after all. He waved the picture in the captive's face. The blonde's eyes flashed red again, and he thrashed against the restraints. Mustang eyed his work appreciatively. He'd managed to catch the idiot around the waist and hips, as well as the chest and upper arms. Get out of that without leverage, you little shit. You bastard. A cat. It's obviously a fox. The blonde looked at the photo. See? Look at those tails. See the head? Totally fox-like. And the color okay, so the paws are a little too much like hands, but thumbs are important. Anger seemed to drain out of him as he really looked at the photo. Come to think of it, those ears are a little long. Huh, what do you know, they do kinda look like he hissed in apparent pain, a killing aura radiating from him for a second before fading. Never mind, totally like a fox. Yep. Fox. I'm telling you, it's a fox, okay? Now wasn't that easy? Huh? Scar smirked. We just got an honest answer out of you, stupid. Eh? His mouth dropped open, but ah shit. Now? Which sin are you? Mustang continued. The blonde adamantly shook his head. Forget it, I ain't telling you anything else. That last one was different, giant foxes are nothing like rabbits. Maybe Pride. Suggested Scar, eyeing his target carefully. Pride was always telling us his abilities. Pride was also quick to admit he was a homunculus, though. He didn't try to hide anything. All this guy has admitted is what he turns into. Greed and envy did that too. Excuse me? I never said that. Both looked at the blonde, whose face shone with determined honesty. I never said I was the giant fox. Scar looked at Mustang, his arms crossed. He's kidding, right? Roy shook his head. You saw his transformation, and he's still claiming it wasn't him. That's why I call him stupid. Hey. Would you stop calling me that? The blonde continued to struggle against the restraints. Persistent, I'll give him that I wasn't admitting anything. Just stating the facts. For the record, you know. Don't want you to think you got attacked by a killer bunny of doom is all. Yeah sure, so what should we call you, Wrath? No. I mean you can call me Willpower. Silence greeted this statement. Scar, his leg, please. The captive thrashed and cursed as the Ishbalin grabbed his leg. Both men wore grim expressions as Scar deconstructed a palm-sized chunk of leg. Ignoring the homunculus's involuntary scream, Roy had to admit to himself that Scar's level of control was impressive. "Want to try that again, smart ass?" the Brigadier General inquired calmly as he watched the leg heal. The blonde just glared at him. He sighed, "This is going to be a long session." With a nod, he signaled Scar to try again. This time it was part of the arm. The captive let out a string of curses as he healed Victory. Again. The beast screamed again. "I can do this all day, if I have to," he grinned, a trickle of blood running down his face from biting his lip so Xavier breath. Mustang frowned, "Let's just test that theory, shall we?" Over an hour went by as he and Scar tried to get the homunculus to tell them its name. They'd alternated who was asking and who, well, it wasn't pleasant for either the Amestrian or the Ishbalan. They got many names, War and Peace, Rich and Famous, Principal and Lieutenant being some of Roy's favorites, as sick as it was to have favorites in this twisted game. "Ellen back," the blonde coughed out after a string of curses, voice hoarse from screaming. Scar massaged his hand, pathetic. "That's a woman's name. Crap. It's kinda hard to think when your flesh is doing whatever the hell it is you're doing." He paused for a second, healing. "Hard to think then too. How about Ivanich?" His head dropped. "You used that one already." Roy rubbed his aching head. "Sorry. Rusty steel." Roy snapped his fingers, burning the creature's foot to a crisp. "Humongous." It coughed out. Mustang flinched. He knew it was foolish, that the stupid thing was just shouting out names, but still, the name of his best friend got to him. "Don't like that one, do you?" The blonde looked at him, a glint in his eye. "I'll kill him." Another snap and the creature screamed obscenities at them both. "Let me try again then, edification." "Enough." "Got something against the name Ed, do you?" Editorial. "No. Ed Abel." The blonde actually grinned. "How about addition?" He didn't even have time to try and move away as Scar slammed his hand into his chest, dissolving parts of his ribs. As he hung there, gasping, Roy gave the signal that would let the others know that they were coming out. He refused to think of it as acknowledged defeat. It wasn't even a tactical retreat in his mind. He was just sick of this, and it was obvious from the look on Scar's face he was as well. The use of names they knew in this sick game was the last straw. "For now, we'll just call you Fox. After all, Yuri Fox," he called as he strode out of the room. "Of Naruto." Naruto hung there, hurting. His world was nothing but pain, even with his tormentors gone. The Kyuubi's healing always stung, but at such a level, with so much use, it hurt almost as much as the wounds it healed. He wished he could just pass out, but he actually hurt too much for that, even. "But, I didn't tell them my name," he thought with pride. As his reward, he allowed himself to just hang there and hurt. It had been really hard, harder than he thought, to keep up the game instead of giving them what they wanted. A treacherous part of him whispered that he should just tell them. They'd stop hurting him if he did. "It's not like a name can hurt anyone," it had whispered. Still, he persevered. His name could lead them back to his village, his friends and family. He couldn't risk it. The worst part was the Kyuubi. It had fought him, raging to be let out, lusting to kill them. The fox didn't care about the village, Naruto knew that in his very soul. Its argument that killing those two would protect the village was flawed, he knew it. He knew there were other people, just on the other side of the wall, just as dangerous. "I'll never make it out of this room alive if you do that," he argued. Kyuubi just laughed and called him a fool. It swore it would survive and protect the village if Naruto would just let it out. Of course, the fact they'd called the Kyuubi demon lord of the forest a rabid dog, and worse yet, a cat, really had not helped matters. So the teen had struggled on two fronts. It was easier to do now than it had been against pain. Ibiki and Jiraiya had taught him well to prepare him for when the Akatsuki came. Ibiki had worked with him on restraints and how to escape almost anything when he was a child. Granted, some of it really hadn't been deliberate. Ibiki had spent a lot of time trying to stop the youngster from causing trouble in the village. When he had come back from rescuing Gaara, he had once again gone to the older nin. The rescue had left him shaken. Gaara had shared things with him that truly worried Naruto. He had shared his very real fear with the man, only to find out his master had been there before him and had requested help on his student's behalf. Ibiki's lessons had been harsh. Naruto could hold out for days against the fox. Longer against his captives. He just had to convince the Kyuubi that they needed to be untied in their plan to escape. He just had to buy time until he could think of a way out of this mess. A way that didn't involve letting his inner demon loose. They seemed too interested in his friend, he couldn't let them have Kyuubi. His father had trusted him with a Bijuu for his village's sake, he wouldn't fail. He couldn't afford to. Of Mustang. He'd washed his hands for what felt like the 1000th time. In reality, what he really wanted was a long shower. He also wanted to burn the cloths he had been wearing while in that room. He didn't have time. Scar had actually left a little while ago, saying he had an idea. Roy was sure that he did. He was also sure that the idea would require getting clean. Bastard. He looked up at the mirror. Cold eyes stared blankly back, an expression he hadn't worn since the war. No wonder the others have left me alone. He snorted in disgust, washing his hands yet again. His ears still rung with the screams. Where does that little shit get off using those names? Mustang shut off the sink and stormed out. It's got to be a trick. He's stalling for time. He's got to be. Once more in his office, he pored over the documents and reports he had, looking for anything they might have overlooked. Looking at his hands, Roy had to fight the urge to go wash them again. Damn. That room's probably going to reek by tomorrow. Not to mention there's all that crap laying about. He thought briefly about cleaning it. I can't go back in there right now. I'll fucking kill it. I can't take any more today, but that's what you have subordinates for. Particularly subordinates who had homunculus experience. Riza. She had to admit, even if it was just to herself, that she would have done the same thing in Mustang's shoes. That wasn't to say Hawkeye wasn't pissed off at being sent to clean up what amounted to his mess in a locked room with a dangerous homunculus. Well, it's nothing a few headshots can't fix, Riza reasoned as she took a couple of deep breaths before signaling to the men that she was ready. Her colleges would be staying outside in the hallway ready to offer support while she and Armstrong went in to clean up and remove any potential weapons. They were to also possibly run for help. Really, it depended on how well secured the homunculus was before it started to make trouble. And she knew it was going to cause trouble. They always did. Armstrong opened the door for the third time that day, revealing just why the Brigadier General wanted nothing to do with this room. Fury summed it up quite nicely, shit. I don't even want to know. Havoc concurred. Both men had their weapons ready, but the homunculus was not in sight. Hawkeye quickly took in the statue, splattered in blood, what appeared to be a pinky in front of it, and wrote it off. It hadn't been in there earlier, so it wouldn't be now. There was nothing by the rubble pile except a burned shoe. The far wall, however, caught her attention. It no longer shined dully in the fluorescence light. The whole wall was charred and smeared with blood. Parts of it buckled outward strangely, and actually puddle of blood underneath. Well, now I know where it was, now to figure out where it is. She took a step into the room, flanked by Armstrong. A feral growl sounded from her right. Quickly she spun and leveled her weapon. Don't move. Red hate-filled eyes watched her as the creature casually tossed a rock hand to hand. It had apparently been trying to use the rock like a hammer on the walls. I said freeze. Drop a stone and put your hands up. It grinned, revealing enlarged canniness. Everything about it exuded menace, the wildly spiked hair and tattered cloths seemed to move in a non-existent breeze. The lines on its face had become wider, more primitive looking. Lieutenant. Stand steady, Major. She understood his concern all too well. I will shoot you. Drop the rock now. She didn't even hesitate to pull the trigger when the beast's eyes narrowed in hate. Bam. Bam, he's fast. It was gone in a flash, now coming at her from the left, dead center to the door. Bam bam. The first shot went a little low and to the left, clipping its shoulder, sending a spray of blood at this range. The second shot was dead on. The blonde head snapped back as it stumbled to a halt. Riza kept her gun trained on it, waiting for the homunculus to fall. I warned you. She growled, not even sure if it could hear her. Instead of dropping like she had half expected, the beast stumbled forward another step, its head whipping forward and down. There's no blood, she realized belatedly. Fuck. Ow. Ow. OWCH. Ow 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 ow. The homunculus grabbed its head and crouched down where it stood, attack apparently forgotten. What the hell did you do that for, you crazy bitch? That fucking hurt. Brilliant blue eyes glared at her sullenly as she kept her gun trained on him. Thank God that hit my oh no. My hit I8. The hands flew to the back of the head, undoing its weird headband. It stared in disbelief at the dented metal. Oh man, he looked up at them, before looking back to the headband. I'm so dead. Why did you have to go and do that? It sniffed, my hit I8. The lady did warn you. Shut it, Sparkly. The blonde growled. Hawkeye cocked her gun, you. Stop talking or I'll put the next one in your eye. The homunculus glared at her before putting its hands up, headband, no, he called it a hit I8 dangling from his right hand. Get against the wall, she gestured with her gun to the left, and surprisingly the homunculus listened. As it stood there continuing to glare, Armstrong got to work. She didn't like the way the homunculus watched his every move as he alchemically removed the rubble and smoothed out the surfaces. It even whistled appreciatively as Armstrong removed the blood and gore. Don't suppose you could add a bed? The homunculus looked at Riza, gun held steady and focused on its head, didn't think so. It tied its dented hit I8 back on and leaned against the wall, apparently unconcerned. It can't hurt to try. Why are you here? The blonde looked surprised by her question. Because you put me in here, didn't you? No, I mean why did you attack us? That's not what you said. The blonde grumbled, don't know why the hell I should tell you anything. You tried to kill me. She honestly couldn't argue with that. It did get her thinking, though, that maybe they were handling the situation wrong. She'd have to talk to Mustang later. The blonde homunculus continued to watch them with hard eyes. He shifted his weight and Rizza's gun twitched. A quick smug glance at her told her he had seen it and was amused before he went back to staring at Armstrong. "Tell me, is there a reason you are glaring at me in particular?" "It's possible he's plotting something. The Major must have done some serious damage, not to mention he's the one who bound him." "The Major asks you a question. Answer it." "Why does everyone think they can just boss me around?" "Answer this, tell me that. Gah, it's worse than the academy." He pointed a finger at Armstrong, and for a second Hawkeye thought he was going to attack somehow. "You." Armstrong actually jumped. "You own any green spandex?" "No, I don't believe I do." "Orange leg warmers?" "No, is there?" "Yosh." He nodded, that would have just been too scary. Armstrong looked at her, obviously confused. Hawkeye shrugged, she had no clue what he was going on about either. "I must admit, your behavior reminds me a bit of a certain youthful alchemist I once knew." "Ack." He said it. Would you please try and make sense?" The blonde just continued to mutter to himself. Suddenly a loud rumble could be heard, silencing the blonde. "Was that Rizza?" began, blinking in disbelief as the sound echoed through the room again. "Your stomach." Blue eyes glared at her. "No." The rumble came again, muted. "Really? Come now, boy, I had heard you were refusing to answer any questions, but be serious for a moment. That is obviously a stomach growling." Armstrong flexed. "I assume it is not the lieutenant's, and I know it is not mine. That just leaves you. Why can't it be them?" The creature pointed to the door, his stomach betraying him once again. Shut up you stupid thing." He pouted, "What are you expecting? You know, it takes a lot of energy to heal up like that." "Of course I'm hungry. Not that you were that heartless bastard care." "Well, aren't you going to say anything? If not, can you get the hell out so I can go back to trying to escape?" He slapped a hand over his mouth, making it obvious he hadn't meant to say the last bit out loud. "Still planning on escape? We can't have that now." Armstrong casually punched the ground. The hard floor surged forward, trailing blue sparks as it raced up and around the homunculus's legs. 2 ropes shot up and covered his hands before continuing to the ceiling. "That should hold you for a bit at least." Har. Har. "Lieutenant, if we are done here." He turned to leave. Hawkeye couldn't help her grin as she calmly holstered her weapon. She carefully made sure to hide the slight shaking of her hands. Her nerves were defiantly shot and she quickly followed her friend out of the room. She had much to tell Roy. Of Mustang. Mustang found himself contemplating creating a stamp with his signature and setting up one of his men to do the rest of his paperwork. He really had too much on his mind with this new homunculus to be bothered with the tedious bureaucracy that unfortunately went along with his job. He thought again to Hawkeye's suggestion to attempt to bribe the creature for answers. "So it apparently is feeling weakened, thanks to our earlier little chat. The easiest way for it to get its energy back would be with a philosopher's stone, which I know it doesn't have. It would be the perfect bribe." A knock on the door temporarily interrupted his train of thought. "Come in." "Too bad I don't have one either." "Have one what?" Scar asked, casually walking into the room, followed by Dr. Marco. "I brought a friend. I was thinking that Marco might be willing to help in getting some answers. I went to his place earlier and he confirmed that he had a small philosopher's stone remaining. It is possible, given the damage we inflicted on that thing, that it will be willing to trade information for it." "Brilliant. Hawkeye was just in here a little while ago and she suggested much the same thing. I'd sent her and Armstrong in to do some cleanup and while they didn't get any answers, she told me that without a doubt that damn homunculus is hurting." He turned to the doctor. "Well, do you think you could help?" "Scar told me a bit about what was going on, but before I give you this," Marco pulled out a small vial containing a dark red jelly-like liquid. "I want the full story." "Settle in, then. This is one hell of a story." Of Naruto. It was a matter of pride that he not be tied up the next time his captors entered. Getting out of his latest binding had been a bit tougher than the last 3. Or, at least the 2 he was actually responsible for. The last thing he remembered after his chat with Mustang and Scar was attempting to reach Sage mode. Looking back on it, meditating in a room that was brimming with the smell of pain, anger and blood wasn't exactly the way to channel calm thoughts and get in touch with nature. It was, however, a very good way to get the Kyuubi to take over your body and bust out of there. Or, it would have been except for timing. If they had been even 10 minutes later, I would have been so screwed. Damn it you stupid fuzzball, it's my body. For now, anyway. For always. It is lucky for you that the woman's attack stunned me then, isn't it? You almost got me killed. No. I almost freed us. If you had not been fighting me, I would have gotten us all killed. Just remember boy, all you have to do is let me take over. I'd get us out of here." Of course, there won't be much left when I am done, the fox chuckled darkly in the back of Naruto's mind. The blonde did his best to tune it out as he went back to looking about the room, once again looking for weak spots. Unfortunately, thanks to his visitors, he was back to square one. On the plus side, at least the room smelled nicer. With a sigh he pulled out the rock he had hidden in his jacket. Time to get started on operation. Get the hell out of here. With that, he slammed his makeshift weapon into the wall. Thanks to his strength and his skill, the rock in his hand held up to its abuse. He squinted, blue eyes almost cross-eyed as he eyed the wall as he looked for any signs of damage. Yes. A chip. He eyed the chip spot, I'll be out of here in no time. Naruto slammed his rock as hard as he could into the wall in a peak of rage. I've been at this for hours. Why aren't I through this wall yet? The poor abused rock disintegrated in his hand. Fuck. Just then, the blue discharge that he had come to hate danced around the door. Foolishly, he stood in front of the hole he had made in an attempt to hide it. Mustang was the first one in, followed Scar and another man carrying a bag. Not bad, stupid. Spent all night on that, didn't you? With a smirk, Mustang slapped the wall, simultaneously sealing the door and patching the wall. The Shinob glared at the trio, prick, he griped half-heartedly. Who's your friend? Another perv who gets his rocks off with torture. Hardly. With another flourish of alchemic skills, Mustang recreated the table from his first visit. He just rolled his eyes as Naruto clapped, have a seat. We're going to have a little chat. With confidence he didn't feel Naruto strolled up to the table and sat on it, ignoring the chairs. Didn't you already try this before? I'm telling you nothing, charcoal breath. I know you're a monster, but you could at least pretend to be civilized. Mustang sighed, holding out a chair for the stranger. Naruto flinched, he truly hated it when people called him that. With a sigh, he swung about, his butt landing in a chair. He crossed his legs as the chair rocked back, his heels still on the table's edge. Better? He asked smugly, looking over at the new addition. It was an older man, his hair going silver on the bottom. His face was frightening, it looked almost as if it had been partially melted. The blonde had seen similar scars once or twice on veterans of the last ninja war. I wonder what he looked like before he took that jutsu to the face. Tsunade Bachan could fix him up. He stared, probably, anyway. Hey, mister, did that happen during the war, or did you really piss someone off? Why, do you find my appearance frightening? The man asked as Mustang and Scar sat, flanking him. He placed the bag carefully on the table. The teen contemplated the man for a moment before shrugging, no, not particularly. I see. These scars are my way of atoning for my sins. The man ran a hand over his face, I am a doctor who committed many wrongs in my youth. Marco Mustang's voice had a growl to it, a warning Naruto supposed. A doctor? The blonde frowned, I don't need a doctor, I'm not hurt. Of course, doctors can hurt you a lot, he must, thinking of his friend and her teacher. His stomach rumbled as if agreeing. A malicious grin formed on Scar's face, we brought Dr. Marco here to offer you a trade. No deal. But you haven't heard the offer, yet, stupid. I thought you were going to stop calling me that, ash for brains. Mustang smirked, but it fits you. He turned serious for a second, if you told me what sin you were. I propose a trade, homunculus, Marco interrupted as he dug into his bag. If you give me the information we need, I will give you this. He pulled out a small vial and placed it on the table. Naruto stared at it in mild curiosity. Within the vial was a dark red substance that swirled around slowly. A philosopher's stone. Naruto blinked, philosopher's stone. That is defiantly not a stone. Yes. The chair banged into the floor loudly as he swung his legs down. He leaned forward and looked intently at the vial as he crossed his arms. His stomach gurgled but he ignored it. Careful, creature. Scar warned. You have to answer our questions first. Why? The blonde looked at the three men, obviously confused. Mustang steepled his fingers as he leaned in, it's a fair trade. You've obviously used a lot of energy in the last few days. If you answer just a few questions, we'll give you this to replenish some of what you have lost. Equivalent exchange. The blonde leaned back. Why the hell would I want this? You can't eat a stone, and that shit isn't even a stone anyway. I bet it's poison. I can play this game too, asshole. How many questions? All of them? No deal. Mustang frowned, 50. I bet you don't even have 50 questions. Marco put a hand on the younger man's shoulder as Mustang sputtered. 7. The doctor said, answer just 7 questions completely to the best of your ability without lying, and I will give you this stone. 7 huh? Scar actually grinned, how poetic of you, doctor. Okay, now I'm confused. 7 it is, Mustang nodded, a glint in his eye, agreed. So, if I answer your 7 questions, you'll give me that, Naruto pointed at the vial. Yes. Marco nodded, I'll give you this deed. All I've got to do is answer your questions, though. Naruto cocked his head to the side. Eat it. What is he, nuts? That's the deal we're offering you. 7 questions for a stone. The boy fell silent. It's got to be a trick. How stupid do they think I am? What the hell am I supposed to do with a not a rock stone? You could give it to me. The blonde winced. You stay out of this. No one asked you. The silence was interrupted by an obviously impatient Mustang. Well, it's a tempting offer. The blonde grinned. If I was a 3-year-old. But I'm going to have to say no. The dangerous look was back in their eyes again. Why? Marco asked calmly. He truly seemed curious. Well, it's not going to get me out of here, for starters. Naruto explained. Something about the old man made him want to really explain it. You guys said nothing about letting me go. Just giving me the stone. You could always use the stone to restore your energy and then escape. Mustang said through gritted teeth. Stupid. Bull. No, that little thing wouldn't fill me up at all. Naruto slammed his hands on the table. I'd rather eat worms again than take that stupid stone. His stomach rumbled traitorously. Worms and grubs, I tell you. The 3 stared at him in shock. With a huff, Naruto sat back in his seat sulking as his stomach growled loudly. Marco stood, tapping the other 2 on the shoulders. Would you mind if I spoke with my companions outside for a moment? Yes, I do mind. He shouted at their backs as the door shut behind him. Of Mustang. Roy was as mad as he ever had been with a homunculus. He'd really thought they'd had it this time. Pain doesn't work, bribes don't work, that's it. I'm going to go roast that thing till it's good and dead. Scar cracked his knuckles. Right behind you. I take it things didn't go according to plan, sir. No, Havoc, they didn't. Stop it, both of you. Marco stepped between the closed door and Mustang. You need to calm down for a moment and think about this rationally. Oh, I'm being rational. That thing is a threat and a pest, and I'm rationally going to kill it. Forget answers, I'll just figure it all out after I kill the damn thing. No. Mustang glared at the man who had returned his sight. What do you mean, no? Havoc, could you go and get me a meal from the cafeteria, please? Sure. With a hesitant look at his friend, Havoc took off to retrieve the desired meal. Scar frowned. What exactly are you planning, Doctor? Exactly what it looks like, we're going to feed him. He glared back at Mustang. A little goodwill goes a long way, or have you forgotten that, Brigadier General? No, it's more than that. What are you plotting, really? Mustang asked as he forced himself to be calm. Marco just shook his head. I want to confirm something first. I will fill you in afterwards. When we go back in, both of you follow my lead. Just then Havoc came trotting back carrying a tray laden with the simple fare offered in the cafeteria. Thank you. This is perfect. Mustang, if you could be so kind as to open the door, please. All right, but when we're done here, I want answers, Doctor. With a sigh he opened the door. Roy was more than a little surprised to find the homunculus sitting at the table where they had left him. His head was down and he was apparently snoring. Idiot. Maybe he really is sloth. The moment they entered the room, however, the blonde head popped up, eyes on the plate of food. Or gluttony. Food. Yes, food. I am sure it's hard to concentrate with your stomach growling so much, so I decided to bring you something to eat. Blue Eyes watched the doctor warily as he put the plate down on the table and sat. Roy shrugged to himself and he and Scar sat as well. Why do you care? Marco smiled. Because I'm a doctor, of course. It's a doctor's job to help people, after all. The blonde frowned, leaning forward and sniffing the plate. Well, I don't smell any poison. Why you little. He forced himself to calm down at the doctor's gesture. Eat up. The blonde looked down at the plate. Well, can't let good food go to waste, right? The creature pulled the plate the rest of the way over and started to devour the food. Or not so good, he choked. I miss ramen. Okay, I can't really argue with the food being bad here, but what is ramen? Well, it's better than worms and grubs, I believe it was. Yeah. The blonde shuddered. Shima made me a lot of grub. And by that, I mean literally. Her meals are grubs. And she doesn't even cook them half the time before we all eat. Who's Shima? Mustang mused. Keep him talking, Doctor. We're finally getting somewhere with this. Brilliant. It sounds unpleasant. You bet. I can't imagine eating grubs for a meal, can you, Scar? The Ishbolan people have a few dishes that contain such ingredients, Scar admitted. I find such meals unappealing. Really? I'd love to try one sometime. Marco turned back to the homunculi as it finished the food. Is this Shima Ishbolan then? Huh? The blonde blinked in confusion. No way. Her hair isn't even white. I think she dyes it though. He laughed. She's a toad. A chimera. A toad, really? It nodded. Well, that explains the diet, doesn't it? Blue Eyes blinked in an unfocused way. Crap. I probably shouldn't have told you that. Roy couldn't help the smirk. You just realized that now? He stood with the others. As he rose he placed his palms on the table, creating a cot with a lovely chain that ran from one of its legs to the leg of the blonde homunculi. "I heard you wanted a bed." The blonde growled at him, "No, no need to thank me." The trio was silent on the walk back to Mustang's office. Roy, for his part, was torn between being excited about finally getting something out of the strange homunculus and pissed off at Marco for obviously keeping things to himself. He kept the peace though until they reached the room. "Mind telling me what the hell that was all about?" Confirming a theory. "Really? It looked like you were being kind to a monster." "Careful, Scar. There are some who still see you as such." The doctor eased himself into a chair. Roy snapped, "Are you suggesting he's not a monster? Homunculi are dangerous. Or have you forgotten that they almost destroyed this country?" "I haven't forgotten. Far from it. Let us not forget little Selim is still left." The doctor sighed, "This one, the one you have in the cell right now, I wanted to see for myself what he was like. He's a pain in the ass." "That's not what I mean. We have basically seen 3 distinct types of homunculus. What on earth is he talking about?" "The first kind would be father. Multiple strong abelites, able to create more like itself and original. The second would be like lust, gluttony, envy and pride. These are distinct in their abilities and are unable to create more. They can combine though, like when pride ate gluttony." The man paused and looked hard at both men. "Based on what both you and Scar have told me, I suspected that this one is the third kind." "Which is?" "A homunculus like greed or wrath." "Wrath and greed. What does no, wait, are you suggesting that he's human? We saw him turn into a monster." "Wrath was one and the same as Bradley, though. Bradley had existed before he became Wrath. Same goes for greed. That stupid prince is still around." Mused Scar, "Are you saying he's like that? So what if he is? Greed became our ally. And Wrath was the hardest opponent I have ever faced." "Wrath, no, Bradley, had been raised and trained from childhood to become a tool of father. He lived to do father's will. Greed and Ling came to an understanding. Greed hated father and so did Prince Ling." Mustang began to pace. "He could be like Wrath. It wouldn't matter if he was ever human." "I'm a doctor. If he was ever human, we have to try and reach him." "We don't know that he was human. He's against what we've been doing, is what he really means." "Damn it, he could have a point though. He was able to get something out of it. A chimera, this could be so much bigger than we expected. All the signs pointed to this new homunculi being raised by a toad chimera." He suggested that he had not always eaten with the toad. "Wait, he said Shima didn't cook before we all eat shit, there could be more like him out there." "We need answers." "What you need is an expert on homunculi," suggested a man as he clambered in the window. Of Mustang. Mustang didn't even bother turning to look. "What are you doing here, Ling? Is that any way to greet a friend who's come all this way to visit?" Ling tisked as he and his ever-present shadow, Lan Fan, made themselves comfortable. "I got the old emperor to send me back to improve the relations between our 2 countries." The prince grinned, "Or something like that. It's just such a long way to Central, though, I thought I'd visit." "Did you miss me?" Mustang could feel a migraine coming on, now is not a good time. "Really? Problems? Nothing you need to concern yourself with. This wouldn't happen to have anything to do with a certain giant fox that crushed your storage building, would it?" "How?" "Lan Fan, of course." "Yes, well then you know we have it under control. I'd be willing to help, you know." There was a knock at the door. "Ah, looks like the rest of our party has arrived." "The rest of your Mustang," sputtered as Hawkeye came into the room, followed by a blonde teen and a young girl with her dark hair and pigtails. "Not you two. Or I mean General. It's good to see you again," the boy began, gray eyes sparkling before he turned to frown at Ling. "You could have come with us in the front door, you know." Ling shrugged, "It's more fun this way, right Lan Fan? It's irresponsible for the next emperor." "May." Roy sighed as he sat down heavily at his desk. "Why is it whenever anything dangerous happens, you and your brother show up, Al?" "I don't know, sir." "Where is the little runt anyway?" Al sheepishly rubbed the back of his head, "I'm not really sure. Honestly, I haven't heard from him since we left. You know how brother is, though." Scar smirked and muttered, "He's probably off in jail or something." "Scar-san. Al-san's brother wouldn't do something like that," May put in, ignoring Al's relief that someone else was standing up for his brother. "He's probably starving on the street." Mustang couldn't help but laugh, feeling some of the stress just melt away. "It's really good to see them, though I wish their timing was a little better. I don't like Sheen knowing our problems. On the other hand, no one knows homunculi the same way Ling does. The little prick might be able to help." "Marco?" For a moment, the older man looked confused. Roy watched as he realized what he was asking. The man seemed surprised, then a little hesitant, most likely because Ling was from Sheen. He watched as the man warred with the question Mustang had given him. It seemed so simple. Marco wanted a way to try and reach the boy, help him in some way. With Ling, they probably could do it, the young man had insight on the situation, if nothing else, he could trick the homunculi into talking. But there was a risk. Ling could report to his father what was going on, leaving their nation open to a possible attack. He could also blackmail them. It was obvious he knew that none of them had reported this. Or, Ling could get the homunculi on his side and attack them. Mustang thought about the young prince's personality, then again, maybe this is a really bad idea. He glared at the teen, who, as he expected, completely ignored him. He was almost as infuriating as Ed. Marco looked up, determination in his eyes as he nodded. Scar. Scar sighed, he can't do any worse than we have. Red eyes met black, if he steps out of line, you could always just. Hey now. Have a little faith in me. Ling said, I'm just here to help. Homunculi are a danger to all of us, you know. I seriously doubt father would have stopped after he destroyed Amistris. The young man idly played with the folder containing all they had found out. How the hell did he get that? As for going back with this information, well, it is tempting, but really, there's nothing in it for me. I'm supposed to be improving our relationships, and if the old emperor doesn't like how I do it, well, he's out of luck then, isn't he? After all, I brought him a philosopher's stone. We will help as well. Al put it, I've learned a lot in the last year from May, so I might be some help. I won't let them put the people I care about though. That again. May started to clamor her agreement while Lan Fan tried to speak for Ling, who was already grilling Marco and Scar with Alphonse. Mustang's head throbbed at the task in front of him. If we're going to do this, we're going to do this my way. Now sit down and shut up. 4 teens looked up at him with expressions full of cocky excitement. Oh yeah, definitely feel a migraine coming on. Of Naruto. Naruto rolled over on the cot. He'd spent the night exercising instead of attempting to escape. Well, except for getting the shackle off. He had a plan, and the first part of the plan involved nursing his slowly returning chakra by taking it easy. This seemed so much easier last night. The second part of the plan was a little more tricky and really depended on his captors. If all went well, though, he'd give these bastards something to think about. The door opened and he eyed it from his spot of the cot with trepidation. Imagine his surprise when the Charcoal King Mustang just cheekily waved before making room for 2 people to enter the room, sealing it behind them. One of the people wore a mask, much like the Anbu of Konohana. Naruto was sure the person was bristling with weapons, just like they were, too. The other person had a classically foxy face that Naruto was more than familiar with. He was basically unarmed, but moved with a grace that told the blonde Shinobi that he knew how to handle himself in a fight. Hey, he kinda moves like bushy brows. That was all unimportant, however. He had food. 2 massively heaping plates full of food. Naruto sat up, eyeing the strangers warily. Well, this is a new tactic, yo, he waved, you gonna eat that? The new guy stopped in surprise, blinking dumbly at the whiskered youth. A wide grin appeared on his face before he answered, well, there's a lot here. I might be willing to share with a friend. He came over to the cot and cocked his head to the side. Naruto, never being the fool around food and wanting to keep a good distance from this guy, moved over to the far end of the cot, tossing the shackle to the floor as he did. He noticed that the Anbu lookalike tensed suddenly, but backed down when the other guy just shook his head slightly. So he's the leader. I'm Ling, from Xing. And I'm really hungry, so are you going to share? Ling just frowned at him. Charcoal for brains calls me stupid. Naruto shrugged, I'm not too fond of it, but it'll do for now. Ling shook his head as he plopped on the other end of the bed, putting the rather full plates in between them. That's a horrible name. Yeah, well, he said something about calling my Yuri Fox, but that's just mean. Imnit a fox. Drugged, maybe. Gah, this is so mean. It's food, you shouldn't be allowed to use food to manipulate someone. His stomach rumbled, voicing its own complaints. Well, aren't you going to eat up? The other puffed, tossing his long hair over his shoulder. Something in Naruto's face must have given his dilemma away. Hey, you really don't have to worry, my friend, it's all safe. Here, let me prove it. He deftly ate a small bite of everything on the plates. The blonde just tugged at his hair before quickly grabbing the rubbery plastic spork. That doesn't prove anything. He gripped before stabbing some meat with the fork. That just gives you a head start. They can't kill me with poison, and Tsunade Bachan always said drugs never really worked right on me, so here's hoping. Hey now. Some of that's mine. The 2 teens made quick work of the food, and soon, all that was left were the inedible bits, though Naruto did eye them speculatively. Wow, you were hungry. Mum. I bet you used to eat your folks out of house and home all the time. Never knew them. Naruto sighed, the warm feeling of being full fading as reality set back in. Really? Sorry to hear that. I was never really close with my father, either. He's a bit of a selfish jerk. Nothing about his mother. Here it comes. You know, Ling began, if you decided to cooperate, you could eat like this anytime you wanted. The blonde contemplated his words before musing, you know, your face would look much better with my fist in it. He gave Ling his trademark grin, sorry, but I said I wasn't going to tell cigarette butt anything, and I always keep my word. The two lapsed into silence. It wasn't quite strained, but nor was it companionable. Just because we ate together doesn't make us friends, I'm just like you, I bet. That got Naruto's attention, at least. It always did, after all. Ling noticed and grinned, well, that is to say, I used to be like you. I was a homunculus too, you know. To the blank look he continued, no, really. I was greed for quite a while. I learned all sorts of things from it. I could help you, maybe. You were greed. The blonde mused, but now you're not. How can you be greed? Ling moved closer, almost conspiratorially, and he had to fight the sudden urge to growl at him, he was much too close. That's right. I'm free of him now. Why? Do you want to know how? Since he was watching the intruder so intently, he noticed the gleam in his eyes. Who says I need any help? I have no freaking clue what you are talking about. The dark-haired guy leaned back, you can't hide it from me. The people of Sheen, well, let's just say we're a bit more equipped for finding things like you. He opened an eye, I can feel you. That's just creepy. Ling chose to ignore the comment, I felt you the moment I came here. I know what that feeling is. It's something that doesn't belong in this world. A homunculus, and it's coming from inside you. Crap. Just. Crap. Yo, you are a seriously creepy guy. I mean, I thought I knew some creepy guys, and okay, yeah, I do, but you're right up there with Orich, that snake guy. The other team crossed his arms, obviously annoyed, don't you get it? You can't hide what you are from me. You might as well spill, because now that Mustang knows for sure, he's not going to hold back anymore. Yo, you call that holding back? You seriously can't be that stupid. Not as stupid as you are. You should just let us help you. Tell us what you know and I promise we'll turn you back. Into what? A turnip. Into a human, idiot. Asshole, Jinchuriki are human. There's nothing to turn me back into. I'm the same as I've always been. 100% human. Human. Not a fox, not a monster, not a humoku, whatever it is you called me. Just a guy. A really amazing guy, but still. So how do you explain turning into a giant fox monster, then? Naruto shrugged, wasn't me. Ling grabbed his arm and shook him, if it wasn't you, then let me help you. I understand what it's like. I can help free you from that thing. The wave of rage blindsided the blonde. Quickly he fought it down. Damn you, fox. Bullshit. You're nothing like me. He took a few deep breaths, fighting the Kyuubi as he whispered that they should test his claims, now I know you're full of it. He stood up and glared down at the other, I'm really not sure how many are left who really understand what it's like. He thought briefly of Gaara and of Pain saying he was the last, missing the Anbu leaning forward slightly, but everyone knows there were 9, so you couldn't be one. A moment of tense silence greeted the statement. How do you know I'm not? Because you said you weren't anymore, stupid. How dare he act like it's nothing. He's got no clue what it's like, what it was like for Gaara when Shukaku was taken from him. Doing something like that, it kills you. Everyone knows that. I saw that. Georgia, he died. And you know what? He said it really sucked. You can't use his pain as you please. He swung a fist at Ling, only to be blocked by the Anbu. Without missing a beat, he lashed out with his other hand, racking a long cut along the mask as his blocked hand redirected for a chest punch. The woman avoided the follow-up spinning kick by leaping back, only to find Naruto still in her face. He was surprised when his fist connected with metal instead of flesh when she put up her guard. Not so surprised that he didn't pocket some of her kunai though as he dodged Ling's surprise attack from behind. It would be better if you would just cooperate with us. You first. Hold still so I can hit you, you damn grasshopper. Naruto wasn't too surprised when in a flash of blue he found himself glued, then chained to the floor. Damn it. Let me up. I don't think so. Mustang growled, kneeling down by his head. The two glared at each other for a while. Ling, good try, but I don't think your plan worked. Your lucky Lan fan was here, if that punch had hit you, you'd probably be dead. He's stronger than he looks. The man stood and headed to the door, we'll take care of this small problem tomorrow. Hey. Don't call me small. I'm not small, damn it. He shouted at the door as it closed. Of Mustang. He felt a chill at those words as he sealed the door shut with Mei and Al. Combined, there was no way that thing could get out. The walk to his office was habit at this point. Armstrong, Hawkeye, Marco and Scar were already there. For some reason, it had been designated Operation Headquarters, even though there really were way too many players involved to fit in its cramped interior. Roy was just glad he could still order Havoc and Fury out of there, and they listened. As he glared Scar out of his seat he sighed, I really miss my central office sometimes. Ling, what can you tell me? The prince sighed as he settled onto the arm of a chair, not much more that we didn't already know, or at least suspect. I can confirm that he's human, or at least part human. That guy's definitely got something nasty inside. I could feel it in the hall, May put in, it's horrible. Ling nodded, yeah. I think I saw it for a bit. The eyes. That thing wants us all dead. Well, we knew that. Can the boy be saved? I don't know, Marco-san. When I suggested it, that's when we found out some real information. Such as? Well, there were originally 9 of them, though our guest doesn't seem to know how many are left. It's at least 8, including him. One's dead. He said that separating the homunculus core from him would kill him. But here's the odd bit. He said he'd seen it happen and the person it had happened to told him it sucked. But Al asked if he was dead, then how did he tell him that? Personally, I think he's stupid. Or crazy. He knows how to fight hand to hand though. So he's either older than we thought. No, he said he didn't know his parents, so he had to be created after our battle with father and the others. Lan Fan put in. Damn. That means the human in him knew how to fight before he was turned into a homunculus. He's good enough to give those 2 a run for their money, I bet. I wonder how he'd fare against fullmetal. Roy had a sick, sinking feeling in his stomach. The homunculi was blonde, a little short, was a pain in the ass, and was really good at martial arts. It sounded a bit like a certain golden-eyed blonde. He knew the eyes, they're different. He remembered the glare. So, when was the last time anyone spoke with? Ed? Durant? Edward? Fullmetal? Elric? Brother? I'm going to call Winry right now. She might know where he is. I'm sure he's written her recently, at least. Apparently the flame alchemist wasn't the only one who was reminded of the other obstinate blonde in their lives. Hopefully, Al would come back with some good news. The news had not been good. Winry had not heard from Ed in almost a year. Alphonse had been a wreck all night. Mustang, naturally, had done his best to assure the younger Elric that it was probably just all in their heads. Unfortunately, they knew so little about this new threat. For all they knew, Ed had been the first target. After all, he had been the one to deal the finishing blow to father. This morning he'd dropped Al off with Ling, May, and Lan Fan, telling them that he better not see them till noon. He would be lucky if they made it till 10, but it still gave him time to hopefully get some things done. He'd been grateful when Armstrong and Hawkeye had offered to check on their prisoner first thing. It had allowed him the time to get cleaned up, even if it was a sink bath. Hopefully they'd still be there and he wouldn't be tempted to do something foolish before Scar joined him. But that thought in mind, Mustang completely bypassed his office when he got to work, heading instead towards the bigger headache. He couldn't help the grin when he saw the empty tray in the hallway. Good, so they're still in there. Well, let's go see how our little friend is doing. With ease, he clapped his hands together and placed them on the wall, opening the door once more. As the room was revealed, he plastered his cocky smirk on his face. So how's our? He stopped dead in his tracks. Before him were 2 bodies. One was smashed up against the wall, its face turned away. His ears were filled with a roaring sound as he stared at the gauntleted hand that was wrenched backwards. Alex, there was a moan at his feet as he stumbled forward. With dread, he looked down. A woman lay there, bleeding profusely. His mind refused to process what he was seeing as he dropped to the floor. Gently, he rolled her on her side. Riza. He shook her gently, eliciting another moan. Mustang's military training kicked in. His eyes quickly surveyed the room, revealing nothing else in the room except for his 2 fallen comrades. Shit. He's escaped. No time for that now. Have to get help. Alex isn't moving, that's not good. He looked down at Riza, pale and bleeding in his arms. How? Did he not? Important. Got to get help. Riza, just hold on. I'm going to go get help, okay? As he stood, he felt a tug on his pants. Brown eyes looked up at him, full of pain. Mustang, she moaned. Quickly the man knelt by his friend. It's all right, Hawkeye. We'll catch him again. You just need to stay still while I get help. I can't lose her. That's an order. He said as he gripped her cold hand in his. As he rose, her hand tightened, pulling her up a bit, head lolling forward. Let go, Lieutenant. I'll be right. She pulled hard, catching him off balance. Desperately trying not to land on his injured subordinate, he twisted and banged his head on the floor. Why don't you stay here and I'll go get help? Riza asked, slamming 2 knives that looked a lot like Lan Fans into the cuffs of his shirt, pinning his arms to the ground at an awkward angle. Hawkeye. How could only gape at her as she grinned. PUFFT. He whipped his head around to stare at where Armstrong's body had been. All that he could see was a quickly dissipating ball of smoke. When the haze faded, Roy realized what a fool he'd been. That bastard, it was a trap. You little. PUFFT. But the swirl of smoke, Riza turned into a slightly shorter blonde with spiky hair. I'll just be taking these, the blonde said, yanking Mustang's gloves off. You little shit. What did you do to them? What are you, an idiot? The blonde retorted, making some weird gesture with his hands. PUFFT. Mustang found himself looking at his double, who just shook his head. Locked room, idiot. They came and left like forever ago. The fake Mustang turned and left the room, pulling on his stolen gloves. Why don't you make yourself comfortable? I'm sure someone will be along soon to let you up in a few hours. The flame alchemist could do nothing as he watched his doppelganger stride out of the room. The way his body was positioned made it impossible for any normal human to get up. Lucky, Roy knew a few tricks. It would take time though, time he didn't think he had before they lost the homunculus forever. Pav, Naruto and. Naruto quickly strode down the halls with the firebutt's confidence. All he had to do now was head back the way he had come in. It was so simple, but he still had to hurry. He couldn't chance that someone would discover his trick before he got out. The few people he passed in the hall saluted smartly and got out of his way. Guess I was right, this guy's some big shot. With a smirk, he started to walk a little faster. He could almost taste the fresh air. Someone waved at him, hey. Mustang. Shit. Just keep walking. I'm talking to you. The person followed him. Naruto eyed the person without slowing down. The young man was shorter than Mustang, though the shinobi had to admit they were the same height. His hair was a golden blonde, pulled back in a ponytail. Gold eyes threatened to murder him as the interloper stomped in front of Mustang and stopped, hands on his hips. Sorry, I didn't see you there, tried Naruto, if you'll excuse me, I'm in a bit of a hurry. Who are you calling so small you'd step on them? The other shouted, stomping. Mustang, you asshole. What did you do to Al? He called Winry yesterday, and when I showed up to surprise her she smacked me with a wrench. What the hell is your problem? Nothing. Nothing at all. Now if you'll excuse me. Don't you give me that crap, General. I didn't just spend all night on the express train from Resemble to this hellhole just for you to blow me off. I'm exhausted, and frankly I don't give a damn if you think you've got something better to do. Explain yourself. Naruto tried repeatedly to get past the irate blonde with absolutely no luck. Damn it. I'm running out of time. Who the hell is this guy? I can't risk saying anything without blowing my cover. He tugged on his stolen gloves, feeling the last kunai stashed in his sleeve. Listen, kid, I don't have time for this. Oh, going to pretend you don't know me? The blonde shoved a pocket watch into Naruto's face. How about now? Get out of my way. He roared, quickly clamping down on his chakra as he put a hand to his head. Shit. I'm starting to run low. Not now, not now. Damn it you stupid fox, leave me alone. The blonde quickly stuck his watch back into his pants pocket. Whoa, Roy, you okay? He reached out. Get away from him, fullmetal. Busted. Naruto didn't even bother to turn as he heard his captor running down the hall. I really thought that would take longer, he sighed, man my luck sucks. Mustang and crap. The blonde in front of him attempted to leap back. Naruto shot out a hand and caught him, spinning around so the golden-eyed youth was between him and his follower. Well, I guess that answers which one is the real you. You think Ed? Shut up Roy. This is your fault. How the hell is it my fault that you're being held hostage? Because you made Al call Winry, who hit me with a wrench. You asshole, what the hell have you been doing while I was away? Brother. Naruto moaned, could this get any worse? As Scar, Ling, the Anbu fake, Hawkeye, Armstrong, and 2 others arrived. Armstrong was holding back one of them, a sandy blonde guy with gray, worried eyes. The other, a young teen with long black hair done up in pigtail buns, grimaced, no, Alphonse. It's the homunculus. What? You're a homunculus? The blonde in Naruto's arm squirmed, looking at him out of the corner of his eye, envy. Naruto just growled. Yanking on his arms to get him to hold still, he pulled out his last kunai. What the hell, Al, this is what you called about. Why didn't you say so in your message? The Anbu gasped, how did you get that? What message, brother? The one you left with. Winry, who hit you with a wrench when you showed up, Naruto interrupted. Then you were on a train all night to get here and Mustang's an asshole. I know already. Jeesh. With a puff he released his jutsu. It was pointless at this point anyway. And I took this kunai and 2 others off of you when we fought yesterday, that's how I got this. Wait, the blonde in his arms squirmed again, trying to look at him, you don't sound anything like him. Who the hell are you? Not Envy, apparently. I'm not telling you guys shit. He reached a hand up, locking his captive's arm in place and grabbed his hair, pulling him down and baring his neck. Inwardly cringing, he rested the kunai's blade against the throat. Now let me go, or I kill him. Mustang just smirked, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Screw you. I'm walking out that door. You heard one hair on Edward's head, Armstrong threatened, and you won't make it out of this hall alive, homunculus or no. So you're really a homunculus? I thought we killed father. Listen, golden eyes, I've got no fucking clue what you're talking about. And you need to shut up. Naruto hissed. His implied threat only worked for a moment, however. Hey, he says he's got no clue what you're talking about, guys. He's lying. Yeah, well, his knife is a pretty convincing argument. He turns into a giant nine-tailed fox with rabbit ears. It does not have rabbit ears. Naruto gripped, and I do not. Anything else? Other than the whole impossible to kill thing. You know, I think that their argument's a bit more convincing than yours. The blonde in Naruto's arms pointed out. Would you shut up? What kind of guy lights someone on fire to test if you can kill them anyway? That's messed up. Sasu, this guy I used to know, did that too. Sick. And why am I even talking to you? Naruto started to drag his hostage backwards towards the exit. Hey Ed. The fire ass called as the group slowly followed. Yeah, Mustang. Ling says he's won. Oh? Ed stopped moving. Well, that's different then. With a deft twist he freed one of his arms and quickly locked his hand around the base of the kunai, fighting Naruto for control of it. In that case, he dropped his whole body down and twisted so he was facing the whiskered shinobi, hands locked together now. This can't be good. Blue surprised eyes met gold determined ones. You're not going anywhere. He swung around, dragging Naruto with him before bringing up his left leg and slamming it right into his stomach. Naruto went flying, slamming into a wall. Ed stood smirking down at Naruto, name's Edward Elric, fullmetal alchemist and hero of the people. You're not going anywhere. Let me take care of this, brat. No. Damn it, I can't let you do that. Well, I just did. I wasn't asking. The fox chuckled, it's chakra racing though, Naruto. I said no. Is he supposed to glow? No, it's a first. Mustang snapped his fingers, only to remember that Naruto had his gloves, Scar, Armstrong. On it? Yes, sir. The two rushed him, Armstrong shooting a rock bullet at his face. Naruto quickly blocked it with his arm, unfazed thanks to the red chakra coating him. Desperately he fought down the Kyuubi as the demonic beast tried to wrest control away. He didn't see Scar's approach, but he did notice as the man let out a shout as the poisonous chakra burned him. Don't let it touch you. The dark-haired girl called out. Would you guys stop that? He growled out, his voice rough from the partial transformation. I'm a little busy right now, give up, you know I'll win, stop it. With a final push Naruto shoved the Kyuubi's chakra back beyond the seal, stupidoing to get he panted as his body returned to normal. Click. Looking up he saw Hawkeye, gun inches away from his face. Don't move. The blue eyes rolled back as his body gave in to chakra exhaustion. The last thing he thought was, I hope she doesn't shoot me for falling. Oh, he moved. Are you going to shoot him now? Mustang sighed as he leaned against the wall momentarily. Ling always had been the master of the obvious. Hawkeye chose to ignore him as she nudged the still blonde with her foot. He's out cold, sir. She holstered her gun. How did he get out? Ed was in his face in a flash, that's a good question. Here's another. What the hell is going on? He rounded on his brother, and what are you doing involved with this guy, Al? You know better. Brother, that's mean. I don't care. Now go call Winry right now and apologize for worrying her. But. Now, Al. He shouted at his brother without taking his eyes off his former boss. May followed Alphonse wordlessly as he skulked back towards Roy's office. Care to tell me what shit I just stepped into, Mustang? Now, Edward, Mustang began, not liking the look on the teen's face. I would think that's obvious, Ling cut in as he poked the monster's still form. A homunculus showed up, started trouble, and instead of asking for help, Mr. Military here decided to handle it on his own. And that explains why Marco, Scar, and you two are here. How? Actually, fullmetal, I think it explains things perfectly, Scar chuckled, just like old times. Right. Old times, my ass, the blonde grumbled, though his look became less intense. Mustang just shook his head and pushed past Ed to the body. Kneeling, he stripped his gloves off the homunculus. I'll just take these back now, you little bastard. How did he escape, sir? He tricked me. He disguised himself as an injured Hawkeye and somehow disguised the bed as you, Major. When I went to aid you, he trapped me and walked out. Please don't ask how I fell for it. But sir, we left a tray outside the room to let you know we had been there. Yeah, I noticed. Mustang, the door was locked and sealed. How could you have? I panicked, alright. Mustang growled out, it didn't occur to me till after he had me pinned that the room was locked and there was no way he could have escaped. Brilliant. Alex muttered. Catching the death glare from Roy, he quickly waved his hands. No, I mean his plan. Brilliant. He was reasonably well behaved when the lieutenant and I checked on him this morning. Well, he didn't stay where we told him to until she shot at him, he did stay back. He must have begun shortly after we left. But how did he know Mustang would be the one to open the door? Marco knelt beside Roy and started to check over the blonde. It looks like he has some broken ribs, but they're healing fast. It's really amazing. He's a real freak, that's for sure. Armstrong was silent for a moment. I don't think he knew who would be coming in next, he just was betting on it not being us, as we had already been in the room once. We've become too complacent, I'm afraid. Mustang smirked darkly. Well, we'll just have to thank him for the lesson, won't we? Which one is he? A new envy? Scar shook his head. No, his attributes may be similar at times, but he's most likely wrath. The Ishbulin frowned. We haven't gotten any straight answers out of him. We know he's one of many, possibly 8 or 9, and they were created after you defeated Father. Ling took it from here, he used to be human, you can tell that much. He's a good fighter, fast and strong, too. From what he has said, there's Chimera involved too. And there you have it, fullmetal. You know everything we do. Mustang sighed. Well, we should get him back into the cell and tied down, for all the good it's done us. He was stopped however, when Edward started to behave oddly. With a look of intense concentration, Ed started to strip the homunculus. He started with the headband, which he pocketed. Then he quickly removed its lone shoe and pulled at the pants. Noticing that they were being stopped by some bandages, he tore those off and yanked them down. I did not need to see this Mustang used, as he was blessed with the sight of frog boxers that had obviously seen better days. The golden-eyed teen ignored it though and went after the jacket and shirt next. What on earth are you doing, Ed? He gave them a typical fullmetal stare. Looking for the Ouroboros. But we already know he's a homunculus, Roy pointed out. Besides, we don't even know if these new ones even have a thit mark. Meaning it never occurred to you idiots to look. The blonde grunted, maybe he has one and maybe he doesn't. He looked at them. Either way, it'll tell us something about these new ones, won't it? With a yank he pulled the black shirt off the homunculus, causing the whiskered head to bang against the floor. Oops. He muttered. Please tell me you're going to leave the boxers on and stop staring at him like that, Elric. It's creepy. Roy shuddered. I expect that look from Armstrong when he sees someone strong, not you after you just stripped someone. Shut up, will ya? I'm looking at something. What? This. He pointed at the belly button. Wow, Ed. Something you want to tell us? Ed just glared at Ling before standing and stomping his foot onto the other blonde's hand. It was as if he flipped a switch, making a symbol appear around the navel. There. You see it. He knelt again, it's in some strange language, I don't know what it says. Look, it's fading again, and his hands healed. He sat back, it's tied to his abilities somehow. I suppose losing your alchemy doesn't make you any less of a genius, does it? It looks like we've got some new questions for our little friend. And Pav, Naruto and. The first thing he noticed was that he was hanging from his arms. The second thing he noticed was, hey, where are my clothes? He kicked his legs in protest, sending himself spinning. Hello. You bastards. At least give me my pants back. Naruto shouted to the empty room. Even the cot was gone now. Fuck this, I'm getting down. With ease that would do his teachers proud, the blonde shinobi swung his legs up and over his head, taking all the weight off his wrists. With a grunt, he twisted his legs up in the chain as he spun around, knowing very well that if he didn't he'd be kissing the ground. Naruto grinned, concentrating his energy to snap the chain. What exactly do you think you're doing? Damn it. Why is my luck so crappy? Inverted crunches. I was bored, he puffed, trying to get the chain to spin him around so he could see the door again. Really? Because it looked to me like you were about to escape. Again. Naruto finally found himself facing the door and a smug blonde with a red jacket. Mustang really must be losing his touch if he has trouble holding on to an idiot like you. Reaching into the jacket, he pulled out Naruto's necklace and hit I-8. Ah. Give those back. Why should I? You held me hostage. The blonde held up his prizes and raised an eyebrow. Naruto glared at him, sending himself spinning once more as he dropped his legs. Let me guess, if I tell you what you want to know, you'll give them back. Ah good, you know how this works. The other shrugged as he waited for Naruto to stop spinning. Maybe. It really depends on what your answers are. Where's Charcoal Breath? Right outside. Don't worry. He's got some questions for you, too. Oh, goody. Gold eyes stared at him, demanding an answer. I don't know anything. Now give it back. Too bad, I don't believe you. Idly he ran his fingers along the leaf symbol. This is supposed to be what, a leaf? Maybe a snail. He toyed with a dent in it, the metal's pretty strong to stop one of Hawkeye's bullets at that distance. You were lucky, Wrath. Why do you people keep calling me that? Naruto huffed, would you stop messing around and give me my hit I-8 back? Hit I-8? Is that what this is? Of course it is. And what exactly is a hit I-8? He twirled it in the air, it's got to mean something to you if you're so worked up about it. This guy is a bigger idiot than I am, Naruto thought, giving the golden youth his best stare. Don't be stupid. Everyone knows what it is. Humor me. It tells you that I'm a trained shinobi. The other blinked, a shinobi. Now he was getting annoyed. Yeah, you know, hidden warrior, sneaking about doing cool stuff, come on, even civilians know that a hit I-8 is the proud mark of a shinobi. He glared at the other teen, now give it back. I worked hard for it and it's from someone important to me. The other ignored him, instead holding up the necklace. "This stone is very unusual. I've never seen anything like it. Mind telling me what it's made out of?" The other blonde went to put it back in his pocket. "Not very manly, though, if you ask me." Naruto had to bite back his growl. "It was a gift." "Really? You know, I didn't think Homunculus had friends, let alone people who would give them gifts. I keep telling you guys, I'm not a homu whatever. Ling says otherwise." Squinty can shove it up his ass. The door once more opened and the firecracker and Scarface walked in. Or better yet, up his. "I see you're just as sweet as ever, stupid." Mustang smirked evilly. "Just so you know, thanks to that little stunt you pulled, we're going to be doing things a bit differently." "You blew it, kid." Naruto winced. Something had woken up the Kyuubi, who had been silent since he himself had come to. Dark, powerful chakra pulsed through his lean frame as the fox protested their continued captivity, and Naruto's part in it, in very colorful language. The blonde did his best not to pay attention, instead watching his captors with eyes that had changed to red. "I don't think he likes that, Mustang," Scar stated, looking at the much more feral-looking teen. The other nodded. "I think he's showing his true colors." "Fuck that. Let me go." Naruto growled out, "I'm not going to play your sick little mind games anymore, you asshole." Forcefully he pushed back against the chakra, causing it to flare momentarily. He groaned in pain as he fought back. It was like blocking a stream of boiling water with his body, and it hurt. Finally it subsided, his eyes returning to their original cerulean blue. "He's not going to let me," he whispered to himself. "Who, father? Or is it some other mastermind?" The man didn't really seem surprised when the blonde just glared at him. "You know, we've discovered something very interesting. You see, you have this mark that appears anytime you use your power, it seems." "Yeah, so, what of it?" "Plenty of people do." Once again, things seemed to be rapidly going from bad to worse for Naruto. He signaled Scar. "Well, I was wondering." Scar walked up to the now squirming blonde. "What, exactly, would happen if we were to damage that mark?" Grabbing a foot that was sent at his head, the white-haired man looked grim as he reached out and lightly touched Naruto's stomach. There was a moment's pause as he gauged his power, a moment that seemed to stretch on forever to the now more than slightly panicking youth. Every time someone had messed with his seal, it never seemed to go well. For all he knew, destroying the seal would set the Kyuubi free while killing him, or kill the fox and not him, maybe even kill the both of them. At this point, he really didn't know which outcome would be worse. Then the moment was gone, and all he could do was scream. The pain was intense, for all that it was only a flesh wound. It was amazing, really. Scar had only removed the skin, leaving the muscles alone completely. When compared to what they'd already done to him, this was relatively mild. He'd done much the same to his own arms while training with shuriken as a child. The third hadn't been amused when the Anbu brought him the bleeding child who had stolen his shuriken. It took Naruto a few seconds before he realized where the damage really was. Kyuubi's hurt. That actually hurt him more than it did me for a change, of course. This meant it was taking a lot longer for him to heal, with the fox thrashing within his cage, enraged that mere mortals dared to harm him as the teen hung there bleeding. For some reason, though, the blonde felt remarkably calm. It was like they'd splashed cold water on him, and in that moment with the Kyuubi distracted, he could think clearly. Granted, it really wasn't an improvement in his situation. He was still tied up, starving, had no clue what was going on, and two guys were trying to do horrible things to him. Still, he felt better than he had since waking up in the body of a fox. "That seems to have gotten his attention," mused Scar. "Maybe now you feel like giving up some answers." Blue eyes glared at them as he panted silently. "If they do that again, I'm done for." He snorted to himself. "Hell, I'm still screwed even if they don't. That damn furball's all set to take over, and I don't think I can stop him this time. Or even if I really want to, part of him long to just give in, to let Kyuubi demolish this place, killing everyone." That part whispered that they deserved it. He couldn't do it. He remembered his painfully brief meeting with his father, the fourth Hokage. The man who had given it all to protect his village, who prevented him from doing just that after pain had destroyed the village. He remembered his promise to his sensei, not to use the fox's power anymore. The golden-eyed blonde shook his head in disgust. "Roy, stop. This isn't going to get you anywhere." Naruto thought fast, trying to think of a way out of this situation without letting the fox loose on them all. He was running out of time, but he wasn't the #1 most unpredictable ninja for nothing. "Back down, Ed. I know what I'm doing. These things only understand pain." His chakra was still too low, he couldn't manage any Rasengan, clones, hell even a transformation. "Oh yeah, what makes you such an expert?" He thought briefly of Jiraiya, wondering what that tricky sage would do. Sage. That's it. For a second, he hesitated. The last time he had tried to reach sage mode, he'd ended up losing control. "I've got nothing left to lose." "I accounted for 2, Ed. How many did you actually finish off?" "1. The shinobi easily drowned out the arguing around him, focusing instead on calming himself. Slowly, he started to feel the flow of the world around him. He could feel the anger radiating off the people in the room with him and even feel people above him in other parts of the building, some rushing his way. "You asshole. I'm telling you, this is the wrong way to go about this. You're a civilian now, you know. If you don't like it, I can make you leave." Naruto's eyes were closed, his breathing slow and regular, holding on to the singular moment when he'd found the balance while they fought. A memory tickled him as he waited. "Scar, again please. Something about being in balance, a weird place, a little deeper this time." Quickly he pushed back the emerging memory, knowing he'd only have moments to enact his crazy plan. And Pav, Mustang and. He'd never been so pissed with Edward Elric as he was right at that moment. He had told the teen that he'd let him in here so the boy could observe and maybe see something he and Scar missed. He hadn't meant for the little brat to try and take over this interrogation. His temper spiked up another notch when he heard the pounding on the door. He could hear May's muffled voice raised in distress, but he had no clue what she was saying. There was no way in hell he was opening that door, though. "I know what I'm doing, damn it," he glared at the captive's still form as Scar approached warily. Even when the Ishbalin reached the prone form, it didn't even open its eyes. Scar looked at him and he shrugged. "If he's passed out, this'll wake him up again." Just as Scar's hand reached out, the blonde's eyes opened. Scar froze, arms still outstretched as the orange eyes looked at them with a determined smugness. "Orange eyes now. Crap, Scar, get out of there. Now those eyes, something's off with them." Just as the man backed away, the blonde swung his leg out, just missing the scarred head, and up towards the chain. Mustang couldn't believe his eyes as the chain seemed to snap apart before the foot even connected with it. Completing the flip, the whiskered youth landed lightly on his feet. Several things happened at once. Blue lighting raced across the door and May and Alphonse rushed in, shouting at them to stop. The now orange-eyed blonde spat a thick glob of something at Mustang as Roy snapped his fingers. Ed grabbed the back of Scar's shirt and bodily yanked the surprised man out of the way as flame alchemy met the weird loogie. The moment the two collided, a firebolt bloomed into life, pushing them all backwards in a wave of heat and sound. "What the hell was that?" Roy coughed to himself as his vision and hearing slowly returned. He had perfect control over his alchemy. There was no way he'd lost control to the point of creating an explosion. Quickly, he looked to make sure the others were alright. When he saw that they were dazed but generally unharmed, he turned his attention back to his dangerous captive while Scar went to the door, whispering fiercely to the armed officers who'd come running at the sound of the explosion. He wasn't expecting what he saw. The orange eyes were gone, once more replaced with blue eyes that glared at some unknown point in the distance. "What the hell? Gyausanophabit, you said me as currency? What the fuck, you stupid four-legged monstrous furball. This is all your fault." The blonde ranted, snapping his manacles with ease. "He could have done that at any time. No wonder we could barely contain him. Don't you give me that shit." "Imnit, the one who ran smack into a building." "A building?" He waved his arms, still ignoring them completely. "I don't care that it's a lot smaller for you, mister. I'm so awesomely big that would be like me running into Tsunade's desk." "Yeah. Well, Gamabunt has never run into a building for no apparent reason and he's the same size you are." Roy exchanged a very confused look with his friends as they climbed to their feet. Not only was the homunculus free, he was ranting to himself like some kind of lunatic and treating them like they weren't there. Ed just shrugged as he went to check on May and Al. "Greedling, maybe." Mustang stared at him dumbly for a second before it clicked. This creature was arguing with his other half. He warily watched as the self-proclaimed shinobi stomped about, periodically shouting. He wondered briefly if he should attempt to once again restrain him before deciding at this point it would do more harm than good after all. It caused a fireball a moment ago, he mused, completely forgetting that he was equally as responsible for nearly incinerating everyone. "You could have freaking told me what was going on, you know." There was a momentary pause. "What do you mean? You were having fun. How was any of this fun? I've told you before, you stupid fox, I won't give in to you. I know your tricks and I don't care how close I was then, Yautrikid." Chest heaving, he stood giving the wall a death glare. The former alchemist couldn't resist. "Are you quite done yet, stupid?" he heckled as he helped his brother to his feet. "You." The blonde rounded on him, pointing. "Stop calling me that right now." "Okay then, fox boy. I'm Naruto. I'm not a freaking fox." The finger jabbed the blonde's navel. "He's a fox, Kyuubi." His finger thumped himself in his chest. "I'm a human, damn it. Where have I heard that word before?" It was some time ago, he knew it, but for the life of him he couldn't place where or when he had heard that word. Ed snorted, "Seriously? You want us to call you fish cake? That's it? Ling and his stupid noodle bowls. That's not what it means." The whiskered youth snapped, "It means maelstrom. It's an awesome name." He pouted, "Though, I could really go for some pork ramen right now." Whatever you say, fish cake. He flushed a bit, cheeks puffing out like a petulant child. Then he spotted the brigadier general. What the hell is your problem, anyway? You could have killed us all with that little stunt. You spat explosives at us. Naruto just blinked at him. That would be really cool, came a slightly dazed response before he shook his head, but I just spat some toad oil at you. I was hoping you'd be smart enough to not light oil on fire. It was then he noticed the others in the room. Roy looked back to see Mei staring at the strange creature, a smear of blood on her forehead. Mustang frowned. She must have hit the door. The blonde returned her stare for a moment before sighing. Then he bowed to her. I'm sorry. He straightened up, looking a shocked Mustang in the eyes. I still think it was your fault, though. Why the hell are you apologizing to her then? And why don't I get an apology? You held me hostage. Shouted Edward as he stomped up to the other blonde. I wouldn't have had to if you had gotten out of my way. I'm not sorry about that. I am sorry that Kyuubi destroyed one of your buildings. The Biju are like that, they destroy everything if you let them. Wah. Fullmetal cut him off. If you're human, what the hell was with your eyes a moment ago? And how did you manage to cut that chain? The oil thing was kind of cool, though. Does the makeup come with the eye thing? Naruto stared at the golden eyes that were way too close for comfort. There seemed to be no malice in them, just honest curiosity. It was a bit unnerving, really. From beyond the blonde, Mustang growled, Edward, don't you think we have more important questions to ask? Oh, stuff it, Brigadier General, I'll get to them eventually, he replied, suddenly crouching down, so his eyes were at navel level. He rubbed his chin with his hand. Why didn't the mark appear this time, I wonder? He looked up at a now very nervous Naruto. Hey, you, are you just going to stand there, or are you going to answer me? Arahg, never mind. He shot up and started circling the now sweating blonde. This is about as creepy as the time Sai followed me into the bathroom. Hey Alphonse. Come here a second, I want you to take a look at this. Sure, brother. The dirty blonde with gray eyes said, trotting up. Edward jabbed a finger in Naruto's face, pressing against his whisker marks. What do you make of this, Al? Correction, way creepier. He tried to pull back. Will you stop squirming? Geesh, it's not like I'm hurting you, you know. A pensive look crossed Al's face as he too reached out and felt the whiskers. See, they're not like regular scar tissue, the texture's too soft. Finally Naruto couldn't take it anymore and he leapt away. What is with you guys? Personal space. He glared at them suspiciously for a moment. Do the names Sai and Kakashi mean anything to you? He got blank stares. Never mind, he sighed. Ah, so you do speak. The gray-eyed teen smiled at him. Hello, Naruto, was it? I'm Alphonse Elric. This is my older brother Edward. Sorry, Ed tends to get carried away sometimes. Naruto glared at him. Okay, so we both do a bit. His eyes lit up. Can you tell me how you were able to do that? The what? Jump back. No, not that. The thing you did with alchemy earlier. Naruto squinted at him, cocking his head to the side. What the heck is alchemy? Wait a second, are you talking about my sage mode? Sage mode? Yeah, you know, Naruto pointed to his eyes, when my eyes were orange and a little froggy. The two brothers exchanged a look before the elder nodded and turned back to Naruto. Is that what you call it, then? Sage mode. Okay then, I've got just one question for you, Edward grinned. How did you do it? Why did your eyes change? Can you hold it long? Is that how your eyes turn red? Can all homunculi do that? What exactly does it do? That's way more than one question, Al muttered. Naruto for his part puffed out his chest with an air of self-importance, seeming to completely ignore those in the room who didn't see his greatness. The great Uzumaki-sama will answer your questions. He grinned, after you give me back my necklace and hit I-8. He looked down, and my pants. Wow, is that all you'll be requiring, your highness? Mustang snarkily asked. My shirt and jacket would be nice too, now that you mention it, ash face. Grinned the blue-eyed blonde. And time, skip and. Hey, what happened to the books I had with me? Naruto asked as he finished zipping up his jacket. Though, in reality, there really wasn't much of a jacket left. At least they cleaned it before giving it back. We fulfilled our end of the bargain, Mustang spat as he sat at the newly formed table. You never asked for those books. Well, I'm asking for them now. Too bad. Naruto fidgeted, just, don't damage them, okay? They're very important. With a sigh, he slumped in the chair, giving Mustang the stink eye before turning his baleful glare at Ed. The two of them were the only ones in the room, for some reason. Really, he could have done without the raven-haired ass, but the blonde really didn't seem too bad. For a short runt that had kicked him across a hall, that is. With his eyes still locked on Ed's he sighed again. So, you've got some questions for me? The other blonde smirked. I might have a few. Feel up to answering them? Maybe. Depends what they are. Let's start off with an easy one, then, fish cake. Naruto growled a bit under his breath. Where are you from? The galaxy far, far away. Mustang snarled, try that again. What the hell does he want me to say? I'll be damned if I tell him about my village. He rolled his eyes, pass. He watched in amusement as Ed put a hand on the other's shoulder, holding him back. Okay, then. How old are you? I don't see what that's got to do with any of this. 16. How did you get here? Mustang asked. Naruto ignored him completely until Ed repeated the question. Pass. Where did you learn your shinobi skills? Again, Naruto ignored Mustang. Hey, you. Why are you ignoring my questions, you brat? Ed sighed, rubbing his head as Naruto crossed his arms and glared at the two of them. Same question the Brigadier General just asked. Because I don't like you. I told you I wasn't telling you anything. He nodded towards Edward. I don't hate. Yet. So I'll talk to you a bit. Naruto grinned. As for the other question, I learned to be a shinobi at the academy, of course. How many chimera are involved? What the heck is a chimera? Your friend. Now Edward looked at the notes in front of him. Shima, she's one, correct? Shima's a toad. He cocked his head to the side. You know, toad. Not quite as slimy as a frog, but colorful. I know I told you this before. So she's a toad chimera? No. Naruto rolled his eyes. She's a toad. How long ago did you become a homunculus? That's a stupid question. I'm not one. I told you that before. Then what are you? A chimera. Again, I have no clue what that is. Pass. Oh come on. We know you're not normal. You were talking about something being inside you earlier, weren't you? Explain yourself. Yes, go ahead and tell them about me. You, shut up, Naruto growled before slamming his hands on the table, making the two in the room with him jump just a bit. I can't tell you that, okay? We don't talk about it. Why not? Here he had to shrug, it's safer, I guess. Well, can you tell me who made you like this then? Pass. Roy grinned, we know that already, Ed. Don't tease the idiot. It was obviously father, right? The whiskered youth flinched. See? I know I'm right about this. Yeah? So what? My father was a hero, you know. Mustang slammed his fist into the table and stood glowering at the startled blue-eyed blonde. A hero? Really? Your hero was trying to destroy this country, kill everyone, for his own power. He wanted to be God. What kind of hero is that? He spat, but I forgot, you never met father, did you? What is he talking about? My father never did anything like that. I mean, yeah, he was Hokage, and I'm sure he got into a lot of battles with other villages, but I know he wasn't the kind of man to do something like that. That's something Pain or maybe Orochimaru would do. That freaky grinning guy really did send me somewhere, didn't he? Silence reigned for a moment as the general struggled to calm himself. Naruto continued to be silent until the man sat, sending a withering glare his way. Can you? Began Edward. I met him once, recently. Naruto interrupted, though he's gone, he's still with me. He ignored both of them. My father, he gave his life for his people, he's a real hero, you know. He did make me what I am. He placed a hand over his stomach, but I understand why. Even though it's been hard, I get it. He held up a hand to silence the protests. He gave his life for me and his village. He's really a hero. He lost his life trying to contain God. Mustang growled out, he did it for himself. We were there 2 years ago when he put his plans in motion in Central. Fullmetal here dealt him the final blow. He turned his head away in disgust. He was a monster. Just like you. Naruto grinned, you're wrong. Oh? How so? Now it was Ed's turn to be annoyed, golden eyes staring intently at the smirking blonde. Are you saying I didn't finish him? Naruto gave a half-hearted shrug, still grinning. I don't know, honestly. All I know is my father died the night I became like this. The grin faded, and trust me, that was a lot longer than 2 years ago. How much longer? Came the tense response. 16 years. And Pav, Mustang and. That's 16 years. You've got to be joking. Sputtered his former subordinate. How is that even possible? You've got to be mistaken. The annoying creature in front of him just cocked his head to the side. Maybe we're talking about different people. Forget that, Roy. Do you have any idea what this means? Fullmetal tugged on his arm, hissing in his ear. Yeah, there's apparently another father out there, or this guy's pulling our leg. Like I'm dumb enough to fall for that. Don't let him get you so worked up, kid. Ed just grabbed his arm and started to drag him to the normally locked door. It had been a sign of goodwill or some such bull. In truth, the rest of the group was ready to burst into the room at the first sign of danger. We'll be right back, just stay there, okay? He sounded upset. You got that, Naruto? Don't move. Roy cast a look back to see surprised blue eyes following them. Bring back food? He asked, obviously confused, though possibly not as confused as Roy. Yeah, whatever. Just stay there for a minute, okay? Ed didn't even wait for a response before he practically tossed Roy through the door before he himself rushed out of the room. Immediately they were surrounded by concerned friends. What's wrong? Is everything alright? Is he talking? Did you find out how he? Is there anything? Roy just shook his head at them all, looking at Ed, care to explain what that was all about, runt. He was surprised when the Bond ignored the jab. Ling, are you sure? And I mean totally, 120% serious human based. Ling just blinked, well, yeah. He looked at the Sheen princess next to him, May. The girl nodded, I feel it as well, he's definitely human, but at the same time, he's not. He's not a chimera, though. Much like the others, wrath and greed. Damn it. Ed, calm down, will you? How could he say that he was a hero? How could anyone say that? He was just messing with you. We know he's full of it, father was a monster. You killed father, he didn't die sixth. Shut up, Roy. Ed turned his golden glare at Mustang, you've got no clue, do you? Were you even listening to a word he said? Brother. Mustang stood tall, once more pissed off at the teen he'd long since come to admire, excuse me. His eyes had a dangerous glint, care to explain what part of that creature should I apparently missed? The other snapped back, fine, if I have to spell it out for you. Who made him into this thing? He never outright said it. Boo. Roy rolled his eyes, his father. Why are we going over what we already know? How long ago did he say his father died? 16 years ago. But we both know that's total. The look in Ed's eyes silenced him, last question, Brigadier General, how old is he? Come on, that's the only thing he's told us today that I'd even remotely believe. He's 16. He blinked as the information hit him, crap. You're kidding, right? Brother. No, Al, that's what he said. I don't think he was lying about either part of that. I really don't think father created him at all. It makes no sense, no matter how you look at it. Father wouldn't have had the patience for a homunculus that was a baby. How could anyone? That's what he meant. Ling interrupted, turning to Lan Fan, remember, when I offered to help him turn back. He said he was always like this. He shook his head, I can hardly believe it, though. Well, believe it. How could anyone do that to a babe? Armstrong truly looked disgusted. It takes a true monster to do such a thing. Roy, we must help the boy. Why the hell would I want to do that? The lad has known no other life, my friend. He's been misguided, led astray from the path of righteousness. And yet, despite this, he has not truly given in to the beast within as some would have. No offense, Ling. None taken. He could feel his eye twitch, need I remind you that he's attacked us? Actually, sir, Hawkeye put in, besides crashing into the building, he hasn't done anything to threaten our lives. She smirked, fireball notwithstanding. Well then, fine, what about the thing inside him then? That is an obvious threat. You won't get any argument from us there, Roy. Ed shrugged, but you haven't gotten anywhere treating Naruto himself as a threat. All you've done is piss him off, and I gotta say, I can't really blame him for being pissed off at all of us. We need to figure out where he's from and why he's here. The teen rubbed his hands together. Now, he said something about an academy, right? Lan Fan, you know anything about it? Me? Yeah, well, this shinobi fighting style is kinda similar to what you do, right? Any chance he's from a disgruntled clan in Shin? Why didn't I think of that? Lan Fan shook her head, unfortunately, it's very unlikely. Our training is handed down in families, all carefully controlled by the current emperor. She held up an orange book, showing them the cover. Roy couldn't make head or tail of what it said on the cover, but the circle with the slash symbol was almost a universal one. Looking in this book, I'm sorry to say I couldn't understand any of it. I had May help, since she has more experience with ancient Shin languages, but we had no luck. There are some similarities, but I'm at a loss at what it says. Alphonse and I had similar problems, Scar put in, holding up the other book. The green cover had seen better days, the only similarity between it and the orange one being identical writing on the bottom. I noted some similarities between older Ishbal and religious texts, but I think it's just a coincidence. Roy frowned, so we're back to square one with the books, then. Damn, I was hoping those books contained his mission. I've got to do better. If I keep letting this Naruto get to me, we'll learn nothing. The kid is still suspicious, but as much as I hate to admit it, they could be right. He could just be a pawn, a distraction, for something larger. He looked at Edward with new respect. After all, he was getting, they had no clue what the results meant yet, but it was still better than Mustang had been able to do. He's not letting his anger get the better of him. Alright, Fullmetal, this is your show for now. What's the plan? For an answer, the blonde just scratched his head. I'm just playing this as I go, Mustang. I was really hoping one of you would be able to read this chicken scratch. I had no luck with it either, you know. Well, for now, I say Roy and I go back in there and see what else we can learn. Al, you might want to make a speaker or something so you guys can listen in and see if we miss anything. He snagged the two books as he headed to the door. You aren't seriously going to just give him those back, are you? Roy had to shake his head. I still say that they could contain orders or plots to attack our country. No way I'm letting the pipsqueak give them back. Nah, I'm just gonna ask him what they say. The blonde shrugged, who knows? He might just tell us the truth. I see. Ling, got any food on you? Yeah, the prince pulled a few meal bars out of his pocket. Are you hungry or some hay? Those are mine. Roy deftly snagged all of the bars before following Ed into the room. What he saw brought him up short. The whiskered boy had not moved from his chair, though now he sat precariously balanced on the back of it. That wasn't what got him to stop and blink in surprise. Where did you get that? He asked, calmly walking up to the table and dropping the meal bars in front of the teen, who didn't even bother to look up from his task of repairing the orange jacket resting on his knees. Had them stitched into the lining of my jacket, came the absent-minded response. Deftly, he closed one of the larger rips in the orange top with neat stitches. Growing up, I couldn't always get new clothes. The villagers, well, some of them didn't like me very much. He chuckled sardonically, actually, most of them didn't like me. So the old man would get me clothes that were big on me, and I did my own repairs to them when I needed to, instead of going shopping. He grinned widely, and then I went on a trip with my master. I practically remade this outfit once a month. He tied off the string and slipped the needle along the zipper, hiding it away once more. Yay. Food. He slipped back down into the seat while pulling on the jacket before grabbing a meal bar. Mustang blinked at the honest answer. He hadn't been expecting it. Why orange? He couldn't help but ask, you claim to be a warrior of shadows, yet you choose to wear such a color. Naruto just grinned, looking more like a fox than Roy was comfortable with. Because it's my favorite color. He laughed. Besides, have you ever tried to hide in bright orange? It's really, really hard. If I can hide in that, I can hide in almost anything. He tapped an uneaten meal bar to his chin, or I could say, when people do see me, they only remember the orange, not the person. So we'll just say it makes me more shinobi-like, while being great fashion. Great fashion my ass. Ed snorted, now, red, there's a fashionable color. He casually dropped the books on the table. Oh, hey. My books. Don't get too excited now. It's not like I'm giving them back or anything. I'm just showing you that they're safe. We're going to need to borrow these a bit longer though to study them, Ed said, resting his chin in his hand. Blue eyes met golden ones before they turned to look at Roy. An incredulous look frozen on his face, the boy pointed a finger at the two of them. Perverts. Ed actually smacked his head on the table with his chin in surprise. What? You heard me, you're both perverts. I bet that scar-faced man and squinty eyes are too. Well, get your own copy. He went to snatch the green book and give this one back. It's nothing like that and you'll taint it with your stupid perviness. Roy quickly grabbed the green book before Naruto could, earning a glare. Why am I surrounded by perverts all the time? How dare you call us perverts, you little shit. Why the hell wouldn't I? Everyone who reads those books are perverts. Ed held up the orange book. What makes you say that? He earned a dust stare. Well, that's generally what you call someone who reads porno stories. Roy exchanged a look with the older Elric brother before looking at the book in question. This is a pornographic book. Well, yeah. It's the last Come Paradise book ever written. You don't get more pervy than that. Apparently he's forgotten that he's not going to answer me. And this one? He held up the green book. Is it an illicit book as well? No. That's the author's first book, autographed. So, please be very careful with it. But they're by the same author. Yes. Can't you read, you morons? He didn't use a different pen name or anything. I've got one more question for you then. Roy smirked. What are you, a minor, doing in possession of a porno? The teen looked nervous. Well, her master kept giving them to me. I couldn't exactly give them back. I knew it. You're lying. What are these really? Mission orders. A plot to take over the country. What are you talking about? I told you what they were. It's not like you can't read them. The blonde blinked, cocking his head to the side. He crossed his arms. Or can you? You can't, right? He looked down, muttering, stupid grinning creepy idiot sending me to this place. Can't believe my luck. Gah. How am I supposed to order ramen if I can't read a menu? He looked at them and noticed that they didn't believe him. What, don't believe me? He snatched the book from Ed's hand and opened it up to a random page. Shinoko looked deep into his eyes. Oh, Renji, we shouldn't. What would our clan say? Renji ran a sensual finger along her bottom lip as his hand gently stroked her center. My darling, don't. We will face that when it comes. For now, just let me love you. With a sigh, she leaned in for a deep kiss, feeling his. Roy blushed. Enough. I believe you. Oh come on, I was just getting to the best part. The boy grinned. Want me to read the other one instead? That honest tale of the utterly gutsy shinobi, and it's about a shinobi who saves his village by sticking to his morals and standing up for what's good and just. It came out right after a war, though, so it wasn't very popular. And they're by the same author? Edward asked, why would your master give you pornos? He sounds like the real pervert. Well, yeah, he was the biggest perv ever. The other blonde laughed, you know what, first time I met him, he was peeking in the women's bath. Research, he said. He was always doing stuff like that. A soft look crossed his face, but he was really something, strong, wise, well sometimes at least. He was a great teacher. You miss him? Naruto nodded, I even miss going over the manuscripts for his books. Wait, his master wrote these? He looked at Edward and raised an eyebrow. Are we sure that they aren't mission orders? Your teacher wrote these. He received a nod, and you helped with the manuscripts at 16. Well, actually, I started helping when I was 13, but yeah. 13 Armstrong's right, this kid is seriously messed up. When he says master, does he mean master as in teacher or master as in master, I wonder? Okay then, changing the topic. Ed interrupted, did he teach you that thing, sage mode I think you called it? That? Oh, no, I learned that from the Toad Elder. See, it's about getting in touch with nature chakra without letting it overwhelm you. If you master that, you can do all sorts of amazing things. I spent a lot of time meditating under waterfalls and stuff, but I finally got it. The Toad taught you how to do that? Yep. He taught me some other stuff, too. He grinned, toads are really cool. Can you give us another demonstration of the sage mode? Naruto looked away, I can, but wouldn't you rather I do it where your other friends can watch? I mean, right now, all they can do is hear us and maybe sense my chakra, right? Mustang looked away, chagrined, you knew they were listening. I saw that weird blue glow before, but nothing happened, so I figured it was to spy on what was going on in here. Well, if it's alright with you, yeah, I'd really like them to watch. But first we've got to set up a secure location. Can't have you making another break for it. Ed grinned, how about tomorrow morning? TCH. Works for me. And I won't run tomorrow. I give you my word. Blue eyes bored into Roy's, unless you try to light me on fire, shoot me for no reason, or melt away parts of my body again, that is. Mustang. Fine. I'll give you my word that if you don't try to run away, we won't try and hurt you. He growled, I just want to get to the bottom of this as quickly as possible. The blonde grinned and put out a hand. Roy blinked at it for a second before realizing what the teen wanted. Grudgingly he clasped hands. Deal. Deal. Morning, naturally, came both too quickly and not quickly enough. He'd spent the night plotting what amazingly awesome techniques he wanted to wow them with. Then he went over what he could actually get away with showing them. He was feeling much more like his old self, but if he was honest, it was going to take a few more days of good-ish food and rest before he could pull out 100,000 clones. Err on the side of caution, as Yamato Taicho would say, the blonde muttered, waiting for his captors to show up. Don't want to scare them so badly we end up back at the tie Naruto up and beat the crap out of him. I'm really sick of that. Ibiki's nuts. How could anyone enjoy shit like that? Man, I can totally see how he gets people to spill their guts, though. Next time I see him, I've gotta tell him thanks. His expression turned dark, assuming Nagato actually kept his word and brought everyone back, that is. He was so distracted he didn't hear the door open behind him. Brought who back? Looking over his shoulder, he saw his two favorite people. The blonde, Ed, and the Sasuke in 10 years, Mustang. Oh, you know, he grinned, all the dead people. NOW, what are you going to make of that bit of information? Dead people? Yep. He grinned, lots of dead people. It didn't take his awesome skills of observation to see both men flinch. What are you going to do with a bunch of dead people? Are we going to go outside so I can show you how amazing I am, or are we staying in here? Both of them looked at him, suspicious. Well, let's get going. Mustang sighed, gesturing to the door. He's actually making the attempt to be well, not nice, but less of I'm amazed. I kinda expected him to at least shout at me or something. Without a word he followed them out the door and waited as they were flanked by Armstrong, Scar, and Hawkeye. Guess the others are meeting us there. No one answered him. The woman, Hawkeye, raked him with a scathing glare, however. Geez, what's your problem, lady? Forgive my lieutenant. She's got some strong opinions on your, reading material. Hey, I never said you had torrid, you know. He'd spent some time the night before showing the two some basic characters of his language at their insistence. Naruto was still more than a little convinced that they were just totally messing with him. After all, he couldn't have been sent that far from home. You, young man, should be ashamed of yourself. What would your parents say? He looked at the large, intimidating Armstrong and shrugged, hey, how the hell am I supposed to know that? I'm an orphan, you know. I never knew them. But, sensei likes the books, and he was taught by my father. You know what? I really need to have a chat with him about that. He could have it. Old Nat and master taught my old man, so I guess he wouldn't have a problem with it. His statement was greeted with silence as they continued down the hall. It wasn't long before they emerged outside. Naruto wasted no time in breaking away from the group, leaping and shouting, "Yahoo! The sun. The dirt. I missed you, grass." He ended his juvenile display by throwing himself on the ground, grinning at the sky. He deliberately ignored the glares. It wasn't like he didn't have practice at that. He was glad that his antics hadn't gotten him shot, skewered, or burned. As he lay there, he considered the courtyard he had found himself in. It was big enough for him to show off in, and if they thought the high walls would stop him, they were sorely mistaken. There was a rather attractively bubbling fountain and benches on the far side. Naruto assumed there was another door over that way. For a while, at least, they seemed content to let him lay there as they discussed plans. He was just considering napping when he felt two people approach. Cracking an eye open, he found his view blocked by two blondes. Excuse me, but could you show us that ability, please?" Al seemed almost apologetic about the interruption, though the look Ed was giving him was anything but. Naruto answered with one of his trademark foxy grins, "Sure, I'll show you that and more. As soon as you answer just one little question, that is." Lightning fast, his arm shot out and snatched Ed's left leg, yanking it up with him as he stood. "Hey." Ed's arms whirled thought the air as he attempted to keep his balance. "What the hell?" Yanking up the pant leg, the blue-eyed blonde snorted, "Consider it payback." He revealed a metal plate where Ed's shin should be. With a little frown he tapped the metal. "What the hell are you doing? Put my leg down right now." "It's metal. It's not just some weird shin guard." He continued to tap up the leg, ignoring Ed as he latched onto his shoulders and started yelling. It was a little harder to ignore the punch to his head when his tapping hit flesh. "Would you at least be careful? If you break it, Winry's gonna kill the both of us. Are you some kind of puppet master?" Naruto looked over to the Anbu. "What about her? Her arm's the same, right? I don't feel chakra flowing, and I didn't notice in Sage mode, so how are you moving these?" Ed just blinked at him after he pulled his leg out of Naruto's now flaccid grip. "Haven't you ever seen automail before?" Naruto shook his head, looking very confused. "It's an artificial limb, connected to my nerves. That's how it moves." "Nerves? Seriously? Man, your medic nins have some amazing skills then. Bachan could probably do something like this, maybe Sakura, but that's some seriously advanced stuff. Was it done deliberately? How long was the recovery time? The weight's different. I don't think I could copy it well." He nodded to himself, "Be pretty easy to tell if some hinged into you, then." "Whoa, back up there. Medic nins." Alphonse interrupted his brother, "What do you mean by hinged? Is that one of your techniques?" "Who should I pick? Well, yeah." He brought his fingers together and there was a puff of smoke. When it cleared, Scar was standing where Naruto had been. Al almost tripped over his feet backing up, eyeing the Ishbulin in shock. He wasn't the only one who was shocked. "That's me." "Okay, Ed, how did he do that if he's not a homunculus?" "Oh, this is pretty basic," Scar said as he allowed the young blonde to examine his arms for a better look at the tattoos as the others came closer. "Perfect duplication." There was a Notherpuft and now the masked Anbu was standing there. With a grin, Ed snatched the arm that should have been automail. "Looks like automail," he tapped it, "but the feel's all wrong. It's not bad though. Probably good enough to fool a visual inspection." With a grin, he yanked off the mask, revealing an equally grinning Naruto. He turned to the Anbu who pulled off her mask, revealing black hair and dark eyes that watched him warily, "So you can't copy what you can't see." He pressed the mask into Naruto's chest. "DUFFT." Only to find his hand was now cupping a naked breast of a long-haired blonde who moaned. "Yeesh." He leapt back. "Ued-san. We can't, what would our clans think?" The woman gave a sultry pout, playing with one of her pigtails. "You know, if you had wanted to see me naked before, you just had to." Hawkeye's gun was suddenly right in the blonde's face. "Ask. Too far." Her eye twitched, very. Apparently she and the other two women there were as unaffected by this skill as the Kunoichi back home. They also seemed to take the same attitude about the men's slack-jawed dazed look. Naruto sighed. "Puft back to normal." He continued to grin. "Sexy no jutsu. Been a while since I used that one last." He explained as she put the gun away, "And that's how a 13-year-old boy helps his master write porno books." They looked at him in disgust. "Wait. No. That came out wrong. We didn't do anything to Jither. That's just nasty. Seriously, all I did was sneak into bathhouses sometimes or jump up and down for him. Besides, you have to concentrate to stay in henge, so you know what, I'm going to shut up now." He blushed. "Yep. Shutting up. Your master was a very sick man," Armstrong calmly stated. "You're not going to get any arguments from me there," came the muttered response as Naruto tried to calm himself down. "Now or never." He calmed his breathing, reaching for that equilibrium with nature to achieve sage mode. He noticed that the Anbu, Ling, Al, and the shorter girl all started to watch him intently. "So they can feel it," he mused as he calmly closed his eyes. Hey, Armstrong was it? Could you make a pillar or something for me? He waved a hand lazily, over that way. In moments, the pillar he had requested was created. What an interesting way to use chakra, he mused, feeling the technique as it formed a rather unique shape. With a sigh, he put his plan into motion, opening his now orange eyes. Uzumaki Naruto. Sage mode. He posed, rather cornily. How interesting, you use alchemy to alter your physical appearance and abilities. Are you constantly channeling energy like this? How can you do this without a circle? Guys. Naruto interrupted, I can't hold this form long right now, so if you could please shut up, I'll show you, just like I promised, okay? Grudgingly they nodded and backed off, giving him room. Thank you. He smirked before vanishing from right in the middle of them. He quickly reappeared behind Mustang and couldn't resist tapping him, easily getting out of reach once more. What are you doing? Giving you a demonstration, of course. The blonde lazily waved a hand at them as he calmly walked to the pillar. For a moment, he admired the sheer gaudiness of it as he walked around it. With a smirk, as soon as he ducked out of sight of the group, he created a clone. Quickly the two of them then formed a Rasengan before the original Naruto finished his walk around the pillar, leaving the copy in place. What's that? This? The teen raised his hand, glowing sphere drawing lots of attention. Oh, this is just a Rasengan. Nothing fancy. He turned back to the pillar, but very destructive. With that, he leapt into the air and slammed the Rasengan into the top of the pillar, sending small gravel everywhere as Naruto dropped the sage mode. Quickly the courtyard was filled with a dusty cloud. He took the opportunity provided to rush towards the fountain. He didn't look back as his clone raced for the other side of the courtyard, attracting attention in sage mode. He's getting away. He could feel the multiple chakra-like attacks zeroing on his clone, only to go slamming into a large rock that had been substituted in. What the hell? There he is. He flinched before he realized they were talking about the clone again. Finally, he found himself at the fountain and dove behind it, making sure he was completely out of sight. Hawkeye. Buffft. As the clone memories rushed into him, Naruto could competently say that getting shot in the head seriously sucked. Ignoring the continued shouts of surprise, with grim determination he chomped down on his thumb, slamming his hand into the ground. Oh, hello, Naruto Nai-san. Where have you been? Aniki has been looking everywhere for you. Georgia Gamatatsu. Why are you here? Naruto hissed, damn it. I wanted Gamakichi. This is so unfair, never mind that now, duck. Oh? Okay, Naruto. Are we playing a game with those people over there? The blonde sighed exasperatedly and yanked Gamatatsu down. I said duck. Hi. Hey Naruto. I'm hungry. I'll get you lots of snacks later, alright. But first I need you to deliver a message to. Hee. A piercing scream came from right behind Naruto. Ah fuck. He turned around to see another blonde, this one an attractive young woman, just as she dropped the heavy bag she was carrying. Giant frog. The door she had just exited quietly swung shut behind her as everyone turned and looked in their direction. Huh? Where? Oh god, it talks. She shuddered. Alphonse, Edward. Get over here now. Who? Me? Gamatatsu blinked at the woman before turning to Naruto, but I'm not a frog, I'm a toad. Naruto face palmed. Winry. Look out. Of course this would happen, the now exasperated teen muttered as he stood, watching everyone he had successfully managed to evade come running. Gamatatsu stood up as well. Where the hell did that come from? That's not very nice. Let me handle this, okay? He sighed as the others approached, turning his back on the young woman who was now white as a sheet sitting haphazardly on the ground. Okay, Naruto Nai-san. The group slowed down, all of them looking ready to rip the two of them apart. Sighing again, Naruto raised his hands placatingly. Just as he was about to speak, Gamatatsu waved. Hello everyone. I'm Gamatatsu. Are you friends of Naruto Nai-san? Quick as a thought, Hawkeye had her gun up and snapped off a shot. Gamatatsu. Naruto yelped as he took the bullet for his friend. I thought I told you to let me handle this, okay? Ah. Naruto. You're hurt. The usually placid toad glared at the woman. You hurt my friend. Why would you do that? Are you with Ak? Hey, it's okay. Look, see, I'm fine. That is a really big chimera. What's a chimera? Ignore them. He glared at Mustang before turning his attention back to his friend. I've got a job for you, okay? Really? Yay, a real job. I'll do my best and eat lots of snacks. Sure. But first, you need to do the mission. Naruto, if you don't stop right now. Shove it up your ass. This is important. Toad. Winry. Oh, the lady doesn't look so good, Naruto Nai-san. Gamatatsu, I need you to focus for a second. The blonde sweat dropped. Okay. Are you listening? The toad nodded vacantly, eyes following a fly. The shinobi sighed, good enough. Listen, I need you to go back and tell your brother to do a reverse summoning, okay? Eh? But why can't you tell him? The young toad looked down at him, whining slightly, everyone is looking for you. Kitsune told everybody that you won. All the people that the 6 pain people killed are alright now, but no one can find you, and we've been looking for a long time. Look, that cloud looks like a dango. I can't tell him right now. He's not here, and I have no clue where I am. That's why I need you to tell him. You got it. Go tell your brother to summon me. He was acutely aware that everyone was staring at them intently. How can you not know where you are? I just don't. We don't have time for this. He felt a headache coming on. But, how did you get here then? Did you walk? It seems like a long way to walk. Amaterasu. You could have let us know you were going on a trip. GHHH. He yanked at his hair. I give up, he's not going anywhere until I explain this or feed him, as he glared both at the toad and their audience. Fine. I give up. Nagato did some jutsu thing, and then when he and that paper chick left, I turned around and bam. I was in some weird place with a freaky guy grinning at me. Orochimaru? No. It wasn't Orochimaru. Ko. And it wasn't him either. I don't know who the heck it was. All I know is he said some really weird things to me and the fox. Alright. Next thing I know, I'm here. Now go tell Gamakichi to get me the hell out of here. The toad blinked, looking ready to cry. You don't have to be so mean about it, Naruto Nai-san. He sniffed before turning forlornly to the others. Bye-bye. Wait. Shouted Mustang a second too late as a cloud of smoke replaced where the toad had been. What the hell was that? Naruto just grinned at him, glad his message would be delivered, well, eventually, anyway, a toad. What else? Is it gone? Ed walked over to the obviously still frightened young woman. Yeah, looks like it's gone, Winry. Mustang knew Ed would take care of her. After all, she was his girlfriend. He was just glad that she was safe. I hadn't been expecting him to just vanish like that. If Winry hadn't come here when she did, we could all have been in some serious trouble. He glared at Naruto. Lots of trouble? What do you mean, a toad? What was that poor chimera before? Before? A tadpole, I think. The blonde laughed, but I didn't know him way back then. I'd hate to see the size of that tadpole, Ling muttered, coming back from escorting the non-combatants back into the building. That thing's huge. Hey. Don't call Gamatatsu a thing. Came the sharp retort, and besides, he's not all that big. Yeah, when he was younger, he and his brother used to ride on my head. He's grown a lot, but he's got a long way to go till he reaches Gamabunta's size. Really? What's a Gamabunta? Forget that, what's a pain person, and how can dead people be alright now? You can't bring the dead back to life. Dead is dead. No, it's not. Okay, usually it is, and you really shouldn't bring people back, but I've seen it done. The team protested. Besides, Nagato didn't kill them. Well, I guess he did kill them, but he kinda ate their souls or something, too. But, I got him to give them back. I think. Naruto cocked his head to the side as they all just stared at him in shock. I know he explained it, too. We're just going to ignore that for now. Got to get him contained again first. Worry about bringing the dead back later. Roy cleared his throat. No matter how you look at it, he began, you just tried to escape. Didn't you? Me? No, not at all. Just getting a message home, okay. The teen had barely finished speaking before Hawkeye's gun was once more leveled at his face. As he laughed nervously, Mustang pulled his gloves back on. Ha ha ha, I guess the truce is over then. I'm afraid so, young Naruto. You have proven yourself most untrustworthy. The blonde rolled his eyes at Armstrong, not noticing Ed sneaking up behind him. Me? Untrustworthy? That's not fair. It's my nindo to never go back on my word. Quicker than a thought, he leapt over Ed and ran for the wall. Well, the hell with this, I'm out of here. Get back here, you little shit. Not on your life, Goldie Eyes. Mustang cursed under his breath, but he couldn't say he had not been expecting this. After him. He took off running, relatively close on the heels of the tricky guy. Hawkeye, Scar, Ling, Lan Fan, Ed and of course Al were right there with him as they reached the side of the courtyard. Now, we've got him, there's nowhere to run, Naruto. Just give up. I never give up. Came the panting response as the boy ran dead onto the wall. Is he trying to commit suicide? And I can always go up. Without slowing down, Naruto slammed into the wall, feet first, before running up it. For the first 10 feet, Roy kept expecting him to fall, only to be shocked as he kept going straight up. What the? How can he do that? Al, you seem to know what's going on, how the hell is he doing that? Ed shouted, kicking the wall. Hey you. Get down here. That's cheating. Sir? Hawkeye had the blonde in her sights. Mustang nodded, but was not surprised when he dodged the shot and kept going up. Shall I intervene? No, Alex, just wait a second. The Brigadier General actually grinned at the sight of Naruto reaching the roof. He ducked out of view over the edge for a moment. Right about now. Just as he shouted out the word, the shinobi went flying backwards over the edge, sliding down the side of the building before coming to a stop about halfway down. "Give up yet?" he calmly called. Alphonse looked at him. "Oh, so that's where Fury and Havoc are." Well, I admit, I wasn't expecting him to run up the side of a building like that, but he does turn into a giant fox monster, so I thought we should have some tricks ready. Scar was eyeing the situation critically, and Roy raised an eyebrow at him, wondering what the Ishbulan was thinking. "Major, a lift please." He smirked. "I think I shall go give our friends a little hand." "Certainly." Armstrong quickly obliged, creating a pillar elevator that rocketed both men to the roof in no time. "If you give up now and come quietly, I'm sure we could come to an agreement," Roy taunted. "Fuck you." With that, the blonde was tearing around the courtyard's wall, getting as far away from them as he could. The group readily took off after him, following the line of the wall. When Naruto shot up, back towards the roof, Mustang shared a grin with Ed as the section of wall shot out into the middle of the courtyard. "What? This isn't going to stop me." Even as the half-bridge formed, Naruto was running across it towards the roof. Suddenly, the bridge's base disappeared, breaking the large structure apart. "Now we've got him," crowed Ed as the team plummeted towards the earth. "Page Bunshin no Jutsu." Roy's jaw dropped. What the hell? Suddenly, there were 3 Narutos instead of 1. 2 of the Narutos clasped each other's arms before kicking off the offered hands of the third one. The one who'd been used as a kickboard went flying back into the wall, disappearing in a puff that Mustang was really beginning to hate. The other 2 streaked out along the length of the collapsing bridge. "Idiots, they should have gone to the side," he spat, coming to a stop. He was no fool, there was no way he was going to go where he could get crushed. As they stood watching the blonde, Ed's head snapped around as if he heard something amidst the thuds of falling rock. "Ah shit. Winry." "What?" "There." Hawkeye pointed. "She's there." Al started to run, having been the first to realize the danger. "She's going to be crushed." The automail mechanic was not where they had left her. For some reason, probably her insatiable curiosity, Roy mused, she had left the relative safety of the benches and was now directly in the path of boulders that were formerly a half a bridge. It was then Roy realized that she was also in the path of not 1, but 2 Narutos. Shit. He ran after Al, only a second behind the older Elric, who'd probably realized it already if his shout of "Don't you dare touch her you asshole" was any indication. Before they could even make it anywhere near her, however, the now twin set landed in front of her before leaping out of the way of a rock. As they continued to dodge the increasing debris, the 2 rushed her, hands still clasped. "Go." "Yeah boss." One of them actually tossed the other, sending him directly into Winry before Roy's view was completely blocked by the remains of the bridge with a resounding boom. "Winry." The brothers shouted as they rushed the wreckage. "Any sign of her, Ed?" shouted Ling as he and Lan Fan clambered over boulders looking. "Nothing." Gold eyes searched the yard in misery. "How about you guys?" "Keep looking, fullmetal." Roy barked, combing the ground for signs of what exactly had happened. A patch of orange snagged on a rock caught his eye. "What's this?" "Even if they were crushed, we should be finding more than just a scrap of cloth." "Don't tell me that little monster kidnapped her and all that." Roy froze, he thought he heard something. UNNGH. Wait. Quickly he pushed through the rubble towards the sound. "Over here." A glimpse of orange as he ducked around another ridiculously large stone. "I see something." Suddenly he was through the rubble, Hawkeye right behind him, the teens coming up fast behind. Naruto lay there, unmoving, with his back to them. "Where's Winry?" Ed shouted, storming up to the still form. Right before he got there, the other blonde sat up slowly, back still turned. "Hey, are you okay?" "Geez, that was stupid, running into a fight like that. You're just lucky I saw you right before they dropped that." A second later he stood, dragging a shaking Winry up with him. "That was really stupid," Naruto reiterated. Just then, Winry saw her childhood friend. "Ed." She cried, throwing herself at the stunned teen. "Oh Ed. I was so scared." She punched him in the head. "Why didn't you rescue me?" "I shouldn't have had to." "You need to stay where you're put, idiot." "I don't want to hear that from the guy who went running off after any clue of the Philosopher's Stone." "Automail maniac." "Alchemy freak." The cough could be heard. Roy, Ling, Al, Ed and Winry looked back at Naruto, who was eyeing Lan Fan and Hawkeye warily. I get that you're happy to see each other and all, but what am I? Chopped liver. I just saved your ass. You could at least say thank you, Naruto-san, for using your great ninja skills to save me, you know." He pouted when they just glared at him. "Fine. Then just do me the favor of getting a room first, okay?" He might not have seen the wrench coming, but he caught it nonetheless. Blinking in surprise, he flipped it in his hands. "Wow, this is some wrench. Give it back." "Hey. You tried to hit me with it." Unleveled in an obvious threat, Hawkeye tried diplomacy. "Naruto, please, could you give Winry her wrench back?" "Why should I?" He huffed, "I'm done playing your stupid games. I'm sick of it." He tossed the wrench back, whipping it past their heads to smash into the stone behind them, leaving the boulder badly cracked. "There's your stupid wrench back." He shifted on his feet, looking uncomfortable and tired as Winry snatched up the wrench and went running towards the closest door. "He's worried. Why, just take it easy, Naruto," Roy began, signaling Hawkeye to put her gun away. "We just want to tie me up and hurt me." The blonde snorted, "Oh, wait, you wanted answers to your questions. Questions that make no sense." It was obvious there was no stopping the rant. "I keep telling you guys, over and over again, I don't know. Alright. I don't know anything about any of this. And I hate it." He threw up his arms, "I'm sick of having seriously creepy people mess with my life." He gripped his hit I just want to go home." He muttered, seeming more like a typical teen. "Not that the teens I see are normal." Mustang cocked an eyebrow at him, crossing his arms. "You summon a giant toad and make copies of yourself and you think we're creepy." "No," Naruto clarified, "I think you're all assholes." "I kinda get where you're coming from though," he grudgingly admitted. "That other guy, he's just plain creepy." I thought Sai had a disturbing smile, but seriously, that guy takes the cake. "Creepy how?" "Ling, I really don't think you're helping," Al sighed. "No, Ling may be onto something," used Ed, a creepy smile. "Weird room, weird how?" The teen scratched at his whiskers, cocking his head to the side, all anger apparently forgotten. "I don't know. Just weird. Not like where the Kyuubi is, I'm used to that by now. But, I dunno, like the world's most boring genjutsu." Mustang noticed that he was swaying ever so slightly on his feet. He's exhausted, I'll bet. The teen casually leaned against a boulder before waving up at the roof where the others stood ready. "Exhausted, but still alert. He's fading fast, though. We'll just wait him out." "What's a genjutsu?" Lan Fan asked, surprising everyone. I thought you were an Anbu, how can you not know that?" The boy asked before shrugging, "You know, one of the shinobi arts. Ninjutsu, Taijutsu, and Genjutsu." He smiled wanly as they continued to stare blankly at him. "Come on, Taijutsu is hand-to-hand, Ninjutsu is chakra manipulation skills, and Genjutsu is illusion techniques. This is academy-level stuff. The basics. You should know this." "So then, it was like a boring illusion." "Yeah," he yawned, blinking rapidly. "What would be a boring illusion, though?" Roy turned to the others. "I don't know, sir." "Hey you, no going to sleep just yet." Ed slapped the other blonde on the back, a bit rougher than necessary. "I got it. It would be all black, right?" Ling slapped his fist into his palm. "Then there's nothing to see." "No, I don't think it would be all black. But all white. That's it, Al." The two brothers turned to look at Naruto, who was more than half asleep. "The gate." Roy snorted, "Wait just a minute, you can't expect me to believe that he has anything to do with that place." "Why not? We think he is a homunculus. That one, Gluttony, had a false gate. It's possible he's tapped into it somehow." Ling used, poking the blonde, "Too bad he's out or we could ask him." When Naruto awoke, he found himself confused by his location. He had only been out for maybe an hour or so, and he'd really been expecting to wake up chained against a wall or something. Instead, he found himself on a rather comfortable couch. Naturally, he froze, since it wasn't the first time he had woken up somewhere unexpected. The voice came from somewhere by his feet, "But, I'm telling you that I don't think he's a homunculus. May, you felt that thing, that, what did he call it, Kyuubi, feels just like them." He recognized that one. Ling was apparently right in his face. The blonde decided to keep his eyes closed and pretend to still be sleeping as long as possible. "Even when you were a homunculus, you always felt like a homunculus to me." "He doesn't." The voice he now identified as May yelled, "He doesn't. When he does that sage mode he doesn't feel like it at all. You know this." "But May," Al said from somewhere by the girl, "we don't really know what that is. All we've proven is he's stronger and different than the ones we have fought." "Then how do you explain the gate, Al?" Ed, Roy seemed to be somewhere past his head, "We have no proof that he was talking about that place. As Ling pointed out, it could very well be another false gate." "Oh great, it's a full room, isn't it?" Naruto mused as he lay there. He could feel at least 7 other people in the room with him, and he had a feeling that there were more right outside the door. "What the hell, you saved someone's life and they upped the guards." "I've never seen this gate of yours, but what worries me is his talk of bringing the dead back. This person he and the toad spoke of sounded an awful lot like father. And that would be Scarface, somewhere over on the other side of the room. We might have another being that wants to become God on our hands." "Oh, come on. He saved my life. He can't be all that bad." The girl he had saved, Winry, was apparently in the room as well. "That may be the case, Miss Rockbell, but it could have been a ruse. He could have done so in order to gain our trust." "Oh, now you guys are just being paranoid, Major." The girl responded, all I see is a boy who saved my life at the risk of his own, while you people were trying to flatten him into a pancake. Winry, let me assure you, even if we flattened this guy, he'd be fine in a few hours, Mustang sighed. Apparently this conversation had been going on for a while. This guy is an unkillable monster. The girl made a sound of protest, only to be cut off. He's got a point, Winry-san. He does turn into a big monster fox rabbit thing. Ling poked Naruto in the head as he spoke, he's definitely an odd one. Hey, when you guys are done with him, can I take him back to Shin with me? That old emperor might like a new pet. Naruto couldn't take it anymore. I'm not a freaking pet. He shouted as he snatched at the hand, discovering his hands were tied together, and Kyuubi is a fox. Not a rabbit, not a monster. The nine-tailed demon fox. Oh, he's awake. Thanks for pointing out the obvious, Ling suddenly there was a weight on his chest. Opening his eyes, he found himself nose to nose with Ed. Now, tell me what you know about the gate. How did you get there, and did you see that bastard Truth? Naruto blinked up at him, what gate? That place you said was like a weird illusion. Tell me about it. Now. That off me first. I can't breathe with you sitting on my chest, you weirdo. Once the other teen had gotten off his chest, Naruto sat up, turning to face the room full of wary people. Why am I here? We're the ones asking questions, Roy put in from his seat behind a desk. Naruto stuck his tongue out at him. The gate? Prompted Al. Huh? I don't know what that is. Naruto shrugged, I saw no gate. I was hoping it was some weird genjutsu that Nagato did. But it was really boring, nothing like either this other guy's abilities. It was all white, kinda like a hospital, except there were no sounds or smells. Completely empty. What was really weird was Kyuubi was there too, and that's never happened before. He's supposed to be in the seal cage. Sounds like the gate to me, Ed sighed. Al, Roy. I agree, brother. I'm not so sure, Ed. Last time I was there, it wasn't empty. Roy, last time you were there, you were blind, Ed pointed out, so how would you know? What are you guys talking about? Naruto huffed, attempting to cross his arms, only to be ignored. So, was he there because he tried to bring back the dead? I've never tried to bring back the dead. That's a forbidden technique. It can get you kicked out of the village and labeled a missing nin just for talking about doing that. Don't even joke about that shit. The blonde shivered, I've got enough people after me without adding the Anbu Black Ops to the list, thanks. Then what were you talking about earlier, in regards to all the dead people, you got Nagato to bring back boy? Armstrong flexed, it's very unmanly to blame others for your deeds. What on earth are you talking about? It's not like I beat him up till he gave back their souls or anything. We just talked about stuff. I wanted to know why he sent the 6 pains after me and killed everyone, and so he told me. Pain, like headaches and such. Winry piped in. How do you send a feeling after someone? Well, I assume they'd be similar to the homunculi and named after types of pain, Scar spat. Another egotistical man attempting to take over the world. Don't you alchemists ever learn? The blonde let his eyes roam around the room, looking for a way out. Distractedly, he clarified, not Pa-in, P-in. The 6 paths of pain. They had some real scary skills. But really, it was all Nagato, which is way scarier. He wanted to become God and stop the cycle of pain and hate. But, his methods only produced more pain. Still, he wanted to help everyone, in his way. There was a moment of silence before Ed asked, he wanted to be a god and killed a bunch of people in order to help people. How the fuck does that work? And you, where were you in all this? Training with the toads to beat him. Naruto shrugged, and before he attacked my home, I was training with my sensei, my team, or my master. He stood and stretched, it's hard work to become this amazing. Team? Roy raised an eyebrow, warily eyeing the bound blonde as he strolled up to the desk and flipped open the file on his desk. Yep. I've been training with them since I was a kid. Got put on my team at 12. He smirked up at Mustang, you know what was the first thing my sensei taught us? Eva. And Pav, and. Ed blinked in surprise. Get Winry out of here, now. One moment, that idiot Naruto had been standing next to Roy, taunting him, and more than likely plotting to bolt out of the window, and the next, he was just gone. There wasn't even the usual puff of smoke or anything. Somehow, he didn't think it was quite deliberate. He carefully checked where the whiskered possible homunculus had been standing. I smell ozone, but other than that I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Do you think you Naruto stopped mid-sentence? Ah crap, back here again. He looked at the window, screw this, and was gone again. What the hell is going on? Shouted Roy as both he and Ed made a grab for the blonde, only grabbing the air where he had been. It was too fast, damn it. Where will he appear next? Brother. It was obvious to Ed that no one else realized just what had happened. It's the gate, Al. Somehow, without an array or anything, he sent himself there. but what I don't. There he was again. But something was different. The former alchemist could feel the malice radiating off him. The boy looked over his shoulder, smirking at them with blood-red eyes as some strange energy enveloped him, rapidly forming what appeared to be ears and tails. Hahaha, it worked. He took a step towards them before a bloom of fire stopped him. Don't even think about it or I roast you where you stand. Ed got as close as he could, a plan half formed in his mind as the blonde glared at Mustang. Yo, you are nothing. I will not let you stop fighting me. Give me back my body. The overwhelming feeling of hate abruptly vanished, as did the strange swirling energy, leaving Naruto panting. I think I'm gonna be sick, he whined before bolting for the window. I can't let him get away. Let's hope I'm right about this, because if I'm wrong, I'm so dead. Ed lunged, tackling the other blonde just as he reached the window. Roy. Outside, now. He bellowed as the two went crashing though into the open air. Why does he have to have his office on the 5th floor? Was his last thought as he scrunched his eyes closed so he couldn't see the ground come racing up at them. And change and. There was no impact. Ed cracked open a golden eye as Naruto squirmed out of his grip. There was nothing to see, everything before him was white. Shit. It is the gate. What the fuck? Stop getting in my way, Smudge. I told you I'm going home, damn it. Smudge. And I told you that I'm not stopping you at all, came the amused response. Tugging his jacket back into some semblance of order, Ed located the source of the voice. Hello again, Mr. Alchemist. The speaker turned his crazy grin back to Naruto. The way you used is closed. I can't send you back. But you said you could. The blue-eyed blonde shouted. I did send you back. You just sent me back to that nut house. Is he arguing with truth? And where's the gate itself? His should be here at least. What the hell is going on? That's what I want to know. The other blonde shouted as Truth laughed. I want answers. But, you know all the answers already. Truth turned his attention back to his old acquaintance. Much like you, they have no gate, he explained, preempting the question. They arrived through different means. Honestly, you think they would be thankful that I rescued them? They? You call that a rescue? Hahaha, you're almost as amusing as the brat. The hair on the back of Ed's neck stood up. Slowly, he turned and looked behind him. There, attached somehow to Naruto's shadow, stood a monster. Come, boy, let me eat you again. I almost had us out of that place. Naruto rounded on the monster. No. That was the worst feeling in the world, you stupid fox. I told you I won't let you control me like that. Then what about him? The beast looked right at Ed's slightly shaking form, laughing. Can I eat him? I wonder what would happen if I did. He's barely a snack though. Who are you calling so small? He doesn't even qualify as an hors d'oeuvre. Ed screeched before realizing what exactly he was shouting at. Crap, suddenly, Naruto was between him and the fox, arms out. No. No eating people. Bad fox, bad. The whiskered boy turned back to Ed. I won't let him eat you, and he knows it. He thinks he's being funny, and that guy keeps letting him in here. Of course. Where one goes, you both go. Even you should know that, Mr. Jinchuriki. Truth laughed. Ed couldn't believe it. He'd seen the picture, but seeing something that large and obviously mean right in front of you is another thing. That is what is inside you. He looked incredulously at the other blonde, who refused to meet his eyes. Someone put that in you when you were a baby. Naruto pouted. Yeah, so? It's not that big of a deal, really. Not that big of a deal. The beast hooted in laughter. Oh, you're priceless, Naruto. All that pain and suffering, and you say it isn't that big of a deal. You truly are an idiot. The fox turned its attention back to Truth, tails whipping in annoyance. Well, are you going to send us back, or are you waiting until I eat Naruto again? I don't think he likes that, Kyuubi. And here I was enjoying the company. Well then, back you all go. He turned his faceless face towards Ed. Come again, Mr. Alchemist. When you find the way, that is. And change and. He felt someone shaking him. Ed. Are you alright? It was Mustang. Fine. Just stop shaking me, alright. He mumbled, sitting up. Roy punched his head. Don't you ever do something like that again, Fullmetal. He snarled as Al rushed forward to hug his brother. Where's Naruto? He asked as he looked around, seeing Hawkeye, Ling, Lan Fan, Al, and of course Roy. He assumed the others weren't far away. Oog, I'm going to be sick, came the moan from just behind him. Never mind. What happened, brother? What happened indeed, I wonder. I'll tell you guys about it all later, but I can tell you he definitely saw Truth. He glared at Mustang. You didn't tell me that the Kyuubi monster was that big. He threatened to eat me. Roy's jaw dropped. You saw that thing? Yeah. That is one nasty piece of work, griped the blonde as he stood with the help of his brother. We've been really lucky so far. Lucky how? Oh crud, what if Gamakichi tries to summon me again? I seriously can't handle any more. I can relate to that. That trip always makes my stomach turn. I can't imagine doing it 3 times so rapidly. I know. Naruto leapt to his feet, ignoring the crowd. He chomped down on his thumb and then pressed his hand into the ground. PUFFT. Ah, so that's how he does it. The large toad now squatted amidst the group, causing them all to take a few large steps back. This one looked a bit meaner than the previous toad. Its colors were darker, and it looked like it had a cocky expression. Not that I know how a toad can look cocky. Amakichi. What gives, man? You keep sending me to this awful place. Knock it off already and bring me home, damn it. I can't take it anymore. Naruto cried, waving his arms around emphatically. Umf. Eh? MMMMPH. He leaned closer, before looking at the toad. What do you have in your mouth? Were you eating? You're supposed to be saving me and you were eating. The toad looked affronted. Then it glared at all of them before its eyes settled on Hawkeye. If looks could kill, the look it gave her would have dropped her like a rock. Finally it turned back to Naruto before opening its mouth wide, revealing. Is that a dog? Ling asked. The shinobi grabbed the small pug-like dog out of the toad's mouth and hugged it. Packin'. Yo, Naruto. Put me down. It's a dog that can talk. Ed winced. The last talking dog creature he had seen had been made out of Nina and Alexander. Sorry. The teen sheepishly put the dog down. Wait, what were you doing in Gamakichi's mouth? Of course I can talk, the dog groused. Tsunade's plan, kid. You might want to step back. The dog nipped his paw pad before pressing it into the dirt. PUFFT. The sliver-haired man stood before them, holding a now familiar orange book. One eye was hidden behind a hit I-8 and the rest of his face was obscured with a black mask. Oh, hey Naruto. The man said, putting away his book. That took less time than I was expecting. What if Naruto Homunculus and Fullmetal Alchemist end here, and thanks for watching my video till the end.